All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insanely13. Been given a special opportunity to cover one of TORA's once-a-year special events. This is their mini-endurance race, often referred to as a Funduro, where they'll be using their NASCAR and Fast Car series for what is going to be roughly 2 hour and 15 minute long event here around Catalunya. So the way this is going to work is that we are going to have 3 stints. Each stint will have in-game time be 1 hour, but the realistic time is going to be about 40 to 45 minutes of racing. I believe it's going to be 45 minutes to be exact. That's what it said when I checked the sheet just about 2 hours before starting up the stream. So you will get one set of 45 minutes per stint, and there should be 3 of them overall, which would add up to being 2 hours and 15 minutes of racing, basically. Time progression is set to 12x. You have all of your normal TORA rules and restrictions for enduros, but because these stints are so small, there's only one mandatory stop for all drivers across the event. There are no mandatory stops beyond that. You are also not allowed to make your only required stop within the last 10 minutes of the event. However, if you want to make a second stop, you can do that. You just can't end the stint in the pit lane. Top category, per usual, is the one that is more highly represented, and we will try to give you a rundown through the grid here before we get underway. We should be using a standing start for today's event. All right, and we are off immediately, and right off the bat is Rexpertise and Sniffly Grunt. They are going at it here at the head of the field. No hesitation whatsoever, but it does look like it will be Sniffly Grunt, who has moved up to the top position in that number 89. Farther down the grid, I do want to go ahead and give you guys a look at the lower category. While they are still relatively close, this is Zoroliak here in a classic old Mini Cooper, currently leading the bottom lobby. Also, we do want to say thank you to Zoroliak for being able to host the event here for this bottom B lobby. This is Rexpertise, who is currently second in the top category, closing back down on Sniffly Grunt. Grunt had a fantastic initial start, but now that we're starting to get through the twisties here, Rexpertise is putting some pressure on. It's I believe, number 246 putting pressure on the 89 here, and they have opened up a bit of a gap on this third place fight that has Lil Kid Suave, Figgy Boy, Momonica, and Apex Dragon all on top of each other. Now it looks like Figgy Boy is going to be able to make it 6. Still, here in the fight at the front, it seems like, for the moment at least, Sniffly Grunt has the advantage. It does seem like he has a significant amount of straight line speed advantage and initial acceleration. So for Rexpertise, he can be right alongside Sniffly Grunt, but actually being able to make a move to get past will be difficult. But as I say that, he's going to go the long way around and will complete here at the top of the circuit here, the highest point on the track in Sector 3. So we have had our first lead change before we're even a full lap through the event. Now again, we are anticipating that Sniffly Grunt should have a significant straight line speed advantage going down the front straightaway. Might be able to use that to try and do something. Rexpertise is going to slide back and forth across the track. Not necessarily to block. Sniffly Grunt's not close enough for that, but he's trying to break the draft to negate some of Grunt's straight line speed advantage. Here comes Grunt. He dives up to the inside. He's heavy on the brakes, and he will complete the overtake by turn 1, but immediately gets hit from behind by Rexpertise. Now gets hit a second time. This time Grunt's all sorts of sideways. Rex is going to try and go the long way around. Sniffly Grunt gets a tire a little bit too far on the inside, hops the curb. He's wide. Coming onto another shorter straightaway, and this will give Grunt a little bit of a run. So these two are running away from the rest of the field. This is Momonica, and Momo has moved their way to third position. Is actually very slowly closing down on the lead duo. This is Figgy Boy in the Nissan, currently hanging out in fourth position, and Apex Dragon has already moved up to fifth place on the track, as Apex Yes, who has made a gigantic dive and near completely missed the track, overing Little Kid Suave back up into play. But we look back here at the lead in the top category. Rexpertise runs behind Sniffly Grunt, but Grunt's in position to open up a significant gap on Rex here. And then once more, when I look back in the lower category, it's still Zoroliak leading Lullaby, then TBR Mech 1, then Dr. Cher, Kelchan, Lamborghini, and Lotus. So last time when they went through this section, Grunt was all over the place, and it let Rexpertise get around the outside. This time, that is not the case. Grunt has actually been able to keep that much larger machine behind, but he's wide going through the second to last corner. They're going to be side by side to the final corner this time. And yes, indeed, another lead change in the final sector. This time, Rexpertise defends the inside, but Sniffly Grunt commits to the outside, and he will have the lead back by the time they get across the start-finish line. And now, Sniffly Grunt will just continue to open the gap between himself and Rexpertise down the straightaway. So for the moment, at least, straight line speed and acceleration seems to be keen here at Catalunya. Lamonica has slipped back into the clutches of Figgy Boy and Apex Dragon here. This is a little bit farther down the grid as we are now in our third lap. Oh, and Rexpertise has already gotten alongside Sniffly Grunt again, so Grunt really seems to be struggling in 1-3, and they make some big contact, and that number 89 turned down into Rexpertise while Rexpertise was going wide, and it is Sniffly Grunt who is way the worse for that. That will likely decide most of the rest of the event, because it is going to be a bit until we come on to a nice long straightaway for Grunt to try and close back in on Rexpertise. So that may have been what it took to decide this event here. Phoenix, Chiron, and Veritabinks all having their own little crazy fights here farther down the grid. That was Kimmy, who very nearly went sideways there off of Chiron's front bumper. But now Kimmy closes back in behind Phoenix. The 07 comes to the inside. Now it'll be a drag race down the shorter back straightaway here. But the 07 does not have the top speed necessary to hold it. He's going to try and have a nice wide entry, but he has a significant amount of oversteer. It actually turns that oversteer into an advantage and uses that to shoot by Phoenix just before they get to the top of the track, the highest point on the circuit. Meanwhile, we look back at the front again, and you can see how massive the gap is between Rex and Sniffly Grunt, and someone has gone off farther back. Was that Little Kid Suave? Yes, it was. It was Suave in one of the Corvettes that slid off there out of the final corner and now is plummeting down, has already fallen down to the 8th position. I think he's going to stop the bleeding for there, but Rexpertise has absolutely taken charge of the event after some contact between himself and Sniffly Grunt. So Rexpertise now starting to vanish off into the distance just a bit. Momonica and Figgy Boy, though, are having their own little fight. The Nissan holds the inside line, the ideal lane of choice for now. Momo still tucked up behind. And what I believe is the Lotus Evira. Oh, and Momo drops some 2 tires into the dirt and is now starting to hemorrhage time. So while our top 2 drivers are the same 2 that started up front, every position from third on back seems to be up in the air and open to plenty of change. And while Zoroliak continues to lead in the bottom category, it is Lullaby, followed by Kelchan in second and third, followed by Dr. Cher in fourth. Fifth is Lamborghini R2D2. Sixth is Lotus. And seventh is Mech 1. We look once more here in the more mid-section of the field. This is Apex Yes behind Apex Dragon. 2 of the 3 Apex representatives somewhat close to each other, but as Yes rushes a bit wide and bleeds off time right before coming onto the longer straightaway, we're going to see that start to fade away. Grunt closing in, using some straight line speed advantage, gets right within the draft of Rex. So while Rex has taken charge at the head of the field, this event is not over yet. Onto the short chute now between turns 3 and 4. And it does seem like Grunt is slowly closing back in on Rex as this goes on. So while Yes has lost touch with Dragon, the Dragon in front of him, he will have to deal with another Dragon behind. This is LMP Dragon, who is staying just a little bit ahead of Lil Kid Suave. Now we know Suave was running a little bit higher up the grid, but slid off. Completely self-inflicted mistake, so Suave now has to figure out a way to dig deep and move back up the grid a bit here. Big twitching slide as number 360 goes into the old extension, the old chicane extension there. And now Suave is going to fall behind Destroyer. I think Suave is far enough ahead of Vera Tabinks. He's not under a risk of being caught by the number 13. But it is not going great for Suave. Seems like they had a car that was relatively decent for qualifying, but does not seem to have stability in race circumstances. So Destroyer now under threat from Suave. A little bit of American on American action here. A little bit of GM on GM action. Corvette and Camaro going at it. So you'll see lots of power down the straight. But seems like, for the moment, Destroyer has the straight line speed advantage. And Suave does not seem to be stable or confident enough in his Corvette to really bring the fight back. As LMP Dragon has gotten by Apex Yes. So now we may see some Dragon on Dragon action as LMP Dragon is going to try and run down on Apex Dragon, 4th and 5th position. 3rd, 2nd, and 1st seem to have stabilized in their places on track. Momonica is holding kind of in a not great but not terrible spot. But Dragon behind them is closer than Momo is to the drivers ahead right now. This is even farther back in the grid. Phoenix 8 misses the apex there in turn 5, trying to keep Fast Food behind. I usually like to try and keep Fast Food in my gut, but he's just trying to keep Fast Food behind him right now. As they begin to rush back uphill, coming to the top of the circuit once again. Bit of a twitch, bit of a slide. And Phoenix holding station now over Fast Food for the moment as Kimmy is slowly vanishing into the distance. This little fight here, though, in the upper midfield continues. Yes has not let Dragon get away, but Apex Dragon seems to be hemorrhaging time slowly, bit by bit. Right on board with LMP Dragon. He should be just close enough. He might be able to get a bit of a draft off of Apex Dragon. Yes is just close enough to get a bit of a draft coming onto the straight, but it does not seem like Yes has good enough top end to really keep up at the end of the straight. When cars this slow down on power, a bad aero setup on the car, even if your car does not have tunable aero, a bad aerodynamic setup can absolutely destroy your ability to utilize the draft down the entire straightaways here. As that 333 machine tries to close in again. Bit of oversteer. He has to do some real quick driving to try and keep it on track, but he doesn't. He drops that left rear off circuit a bit. That's going to bring Yes back into it. And again, Apex Dragon, seems to be losing ground, and LMP Dragon seems to be faster. So I think we could see 5th, 6th, and 7th all on top of each other very shortly here, but now they are going through traffic. Have to work their way the long way around. I believe that was Zerliak. So Apex Dragon holding station over LMP Dragon still. And now LMP Dragon has Apex Yes tucked up behind once more. No, I'm sorry, that was Lotus. That was not Zorlak, that was Lotus who they were going by. Meanwhile, your leader, Rexpertise, is he going to be held up by traffic coming out of the final corner? He is held up by traffic. Big twitch and slide from the rear of the car as he has to struggle to deal with traffic here. But he's been opening up a gap slowly, bit by bit, over Sniffly Grunt. And while Grunt has some superior straight line speed that should let him clear traffic with no issue whatsoever, it's not going to be enough to seriously bring Grunt back into play. That's the dynamic of multi-class racing. In the top category, you want to be in a car that is going to have better acceleration, because top acceleration will let you clear traffic better than a car that is good on lap times but not very good with acceleration. There are exceptions, but that's usually how it goes. If traffic continues to be an issue for Rex, that may be the only thing that brings Grunt into play. And while I was talking about that little dynamic, we have seen LMP Dragon now move by Apex Dragon 5. So LMP Dragon is our newest driver to crack the top 5 in our event here. And Dragon 5 now has to deal with teammate Apex Yes just behind. Dragon tries to lunge to the outside, trying an alternate line through the chicane at the bottom of Sector 2. Couldn't really make any good of it, though. Not that time, at least. Absolute chaos going on back here. At the moment, that is Kimmy, Tabinks, Phoenix, and Fast Food on a four-way battle between each other. And once again, Rexpertise, for the second time in a row, catches traffic at one of the least opportune parts on the track. And again, Sniffly Grunt is not going to have to worry about traffic. Rex is losing so much time to traffic coming onto the straight each and every time, pretty much without fail. And while Grunt does have to run a slightly alternate line going into turn 1 so he can outbrake the lower categories, he's doing that with no issue. It's only compromising him in that one corner. But again, while I do think that Rex seems to be in the better driver-car setup combo right now, traffic may be all it takes to bring Grunt back into play here. Meanwhile, the Dragons are going back at it again. 2 Dragons and 2 cars as they come down into Sector 2 once more. They have a slide there from the rear of that number 760 Porsche. And all the while, Yes is just behind, watching this play out in front of him. There's still a little bit more traffic ahead that this duo may have to deal with at the end of the straight here. Again, navigating lower category traffic. It looks like LMP Dragon is able to dive bomb to the inside of the Mazda and leaves just enough room open for Apex Dragon to follow without issue. But Yes is going to hit that Mazda right in the behind, right in the rear bumper. And it does seem like for the moment, Yes is struggling with traffic navigation in their own right. Rex finally catches some traffic in a straight line, something that has a little bit more optimum for themselves. And Sniffly Grunt will be the one who's going to have to deal with traffic in the corners where the sheer straight line advantage is not going to work out quite as much in their favor. Figgy Boy just barely getting by some of the bottom category traffic as well. Momo trying to close in, but not really having much luck. And then you have LMP Dragon and Apex Dragon just a little bit farther back. Here comes Apex. He looks to the outside, now falls back in line behind that number 333 machine. Dragon's just a little wide. but he keeps it back in. Doesn't go all the way to the outside curb. This time it's Apex Dragon who's going to have a nice wide entry into the corner to try and maximize corner exit speed. Coming up on some more traffic again. They may have to split him. No, they will not split. Oh, and Apex hits the slower car, and in the process bleeds off some very critical speed. That's more traffic ahead. That is the Lola sponsored machine in the bottom category that he is trying to get by, and Dragon drops 2 tires in the dirt there just to try and outrun that old classic style Corvette there. And that all of a sudden brings Apex Dragon back up to his rear bumper again, but now LMP Dragon starts peeling off into the distance once more. So about 26 minutes left in the event here. This is still, I would argue, the most interesting battle near the front of the field, but there is a slightly similar battle that flares up and then dies down here between Phoenix 8 and Fast Food 21. These two keep catching each other, but just about every time they catch each other, we see Fast Food have a mistake that pushes him back a little bit. Most of the other positions on track seem to be stable right now. There is a bit of a fight going on here between Lulba and Dr. Cher here in the bottom category, but this seems to be a little bit more of a grand stalking battle. And just as I turned away, Kimmy got by Fast Food and is now putting pressure on Phoenix 8 and will clear Phoenix 8 with no issue. So Phoenix now suddenly hemorrhaging time. No damage, nothing like that to the car. Oh, but there's a little bit of contact, and the 07 is drifting on the extreme outside. They're still side by side as they come out of Sector 1 and now dive down into Sector 2 here. Again, the 07 sliding the rear and around as he gets touched from behind by Phoenix 8. Uphill through this little chicane. And out of the duo of Kimmy, Phoenix, and Fast Food, it seems like it's Kimmy who has everything a little bit better put together as they come onto the backstretch once more. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and while we do, we'll ride for a full lap on board with Apex Dragon, give you an idea what a full lap around Catalunya is like in our top category today. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, as you see your leader, Rex Bertis, go by through turn 3 there, followed by Sniffly Grunt. We are about, not quite, but we are about halfway through stint 1 here. Again, stints will only be 45-minute affairs here today. And we are seeing our first drivers in the top category making their first stops of the day. That is Apex Yes, who has gone ahead and jumped into the pit lane nice and early. Again, you are required 1 pit stop in today's event. As long as it does not come in the last 10 minutes, you'll be fine. So Yes is elected to be one of, actually he is the second, I believe, because it looks like Destroyer also made a pit stop, but he will be one of the first 2 drivers to make a stop here in the top category. In the bottom category, TBR Mech 1, this driver made a pit stop very early on in the event, got way off sequence to everyone else, and only now has another driver in the form of Lamborghini R2D2 made a stop as well. But the bottom category seems to be relatively spread out as the event has gone on. Is the top category, which has had the most interesting battle throughout the event today, as LMP Dragon, who has been slowly working their way up the field, is now closing in behind Momonica. With about 20 minutes left in this stint. A little bit more than 20 minutes left, and here comes Figgy Boy and LMP Dragon will be joining them in the pit lane. So pit lane is nice and hot today. It looks like Little Kid Suave, who we saw slide off circuit at least 2 separate times, is also going ahead and jumping into the pits right now. So what of our leaders? What of Rexpertise and Sniffly Grunt? Well, we look at the telemetry. There's still about 13% left in the tank. For Rex, he's at 46% wear on his most worn tire. For Grunt, it is 5% left in the fuel tank, but he has a lot less wear on the tires. So ideally, you would think at this point, this would be when Sniffly Grunt would be making the best lap time. About 25 minutes in to our stint with about 20 minutes left. You could probably pit now and be fine. Thing is, for Rexpertise, while he has pushed the tires a little bit farther than I imagine he would be happy with, if he pits now, he would not have to worry about the tires being pushed to a similar degree later. So this will likely be an easy walk-off for him as long as he does not botch a setup during his pit stop here. So now we have Phoenix 8, Little Kid Suave, and Fast Food all together. Little Kid Suave has been running higher than this, but due to going off and the fact that he has made a pit stop earlier, he now has to navigate his way by Phoenix 8, and this could be a good chance for Fast Food, because if Phoenix 8 finds his lap time significantly hampered by Suave's presence, it could bring Fast Food into play. Sniffly Grunt pitting out of the second position, but Rexpertise wants to stay out on track just a little bit longer here. Rex should have the advantage of being able to put in a little bit less fuel when he does make a pit stop, so it will give him a slightly shorter pit stop, and in addition to that, it should also give him the ability to not worry about burning up the tires at all near the end of this stint here. So second, third, and fourth, Grunt, Momonica, and Apex Dragon all have elected to pit at the same time this time around. Lulba also went ahead and pitted as well from the bottom category. And now you see Phoenix 8 finally has jumped into the pits. So everyone in the top 10, except for Rexpertise and Fast Food, have made their stops. We're anticipating that Rex will make his stop at the end of this lap. What if Fast Food? What is his strategy? He still has 24% in the tank. He could go very deep into the run. And with how little wear is on these tires, I have to wonder if Fast Food is on mediums right now, or hard, just a harder compounded tire in general. And when he makes his mandatory stop, if he's going to throw on some soft tires with a very, very light fuel load and just fly up the order, it'd be a bold strategy. Let's see how it plays out. Another option could be he might not change tires at all and just try a very, very quick short fill you're still going to lose the majority of the time anyway from the time spent coming in and coming out. And also, this game does mandate that you have to stand still in your box for a minimum of 2.5 seconds. So if the fuel part of the stop only takes him, less than a second, he's still going to lose about a second and a half in pit road, not doing anything. Well, your leader, Rexpertise, has finally come on to pit lane. Sniffly Grunt here, coming through Sector 3 at the moment. This will be the last real good shot that Grunt will have at closing down this gap on merit, but it just does not look like it's going to happen. Grunt's going to be at a nice high top end here down the straightaway, but it looks like the gap between Grunt and Rex is going to be actually bigger than what it was before. So it seems like the top position in this event has been decided. It's going to be everything from about third on back that's up in the air, mainly because of this driver here, LMP Dragon, in this classic BMW, continuing to close down and give problems to Momonica. Little Kid Suave, it looks like, has gotten by Apex Dragon, so Suave is starting to recover from the off-track excursions that he had earlier in the event. Fast Food's making a stop, so now Chiron moves up into the 10th position, as he also has yet to make a pit stop. He is almost out of fuel, and that left front has got some significant wear, so he may have pushed these tires just a little bit too far, but he will have the advantage of making it a very, very nice and short stop. Your leader in the bottom category right now is Dr. Chair in this Lola, but again, you are required to make a pit stop, and as you can see, Dr. Chair has not yet made a stop. You still have plenty of fuel in the car. The tires still have plenty of wear, so I'm not sure what the strategy is. Dramora, last place in the top category, has finally made his stop, so it's just Chiron in the top category and Dr. Chair in the bottom category who have yet to make their only required stop of the day. And Apex Dragon is slow on the back straightaway here. I wonder if he may have slid off into the dirt on the outside of the circuit, just on the entry of the back straightaway. But he has lost significant amount of time to Lil Kid Suave, and Suave is trying to make up ground. Then you have LMP Dragon in 5th, who has been slowly moving his way up the grid, and then you have Momonica, who is 4th, and Figgy Boy just a little bit up the road in 3rd. So if Dragon or Suave continue to put down some great laps, we could see one or both of them try to crack the top 3 positions. But 1st and 2nd seems to be pretty much locked up. Rexpertise and Sniffly Grunt qualified in the top 2 positions, and they will stay there. And Chiron now coming down into pit lane, so that will complete all the mandatory stops for the top category. Dr. Chair, who leads in the bottom category, though, still has yet to make his one and only mandated stop of the event. And again, with how little wear is on those tires and how much fuel there still is there, he's probably hoping that a short fill will help him out, but he's still going to likely fall out of the podium positions here in his category. And Fast Food is making a 2nd stop. Well, we tuned in a little late to see if there was any damage, but whatever has happened to Fast Food, this has now plummeted him to 2nd to last, next to last in category. So frustration for Fast Food. But every driver has now made their mandatory stop at this stage of the event. And Zoroliak does take the lead back from Dr. Chair, but it looks like this strategy might work out for Dr. Chair. He is now ahead of TBR Mech1. So for the moment, ooh, big hop over the curb there. But for the moment, it seems like we have seen a strategy-based change here in our bottom category. But your leader is still Rexpertise, who whips his way around the outside of several of the drivers in the bottom class. That is Mech1 and Lulba. Rex really held up on the extreme outside line there, but he is so far ahead of Sniffly Grunt is almost not going to matter. But Momo has slowly been closing in on Figgy Boy. LMP Dragon and Lil Kid Suave seem to have stalled out their forward momentum at the moment. So we may see another fight for third position here between Figgy and Momo here, as we are looking at about 12 minutes left in the event. Firing uphill once again. Lotus versus Nissan, not a very common fight. You don't normally see this trying to play out here. But now they come to the top of Sector 2 and fire off down towards Sector 3. Momo is definitely close enough to get a draft off of Fig, but I think the big advantage is that Fig is struggling to keep the rear of that Nissan under him. Fig ducks down, kind of cuts off the air to the nose of Momo. Just about nose to tail again. But again, you can see that Fig is really struggling to keep the rear of that car under him. And now Momo has a fantastic draft. Momo's going to go to the extreme inside this time. Try to use the draft to out-brake. So for the final step on the podium, they were briefly 3 wide with lap traffic. But on the inside, this should easily be Momo. Fig is going to keep Momo squeezed down. And he's going to fire it off of Sector 2. Gets the lead, slides the rear of the car around. But Figgy Boy holds station over Momonica just for a little bit longer. And now they come back down to turn number 4. Again, Momo is going to go to the inside. Nice, tight inside line. Can't quite complete the overtake, though. That number 04 is still there. And now, Fig is going to have the inside line going into the following corner, the ideal lane. More traffic. Again, the Nissan is all sorts of sideways trying to put the power down. Here comes Momo to the inside once again. Again, there will be 3 wide. Again, it is Momo who has the inside line. Oh, and they make big contact, and Momo is fired off the racing line. They'll keep it on track. But for the moment, it looks like that fight is over. So we're going to go ahead as we take one last Twitch-mandated ad break during the stint. We are going to ride on board with this driver here, Zroiliak, for a full flying lap here at Catalunya. We will be back momentarily. When we come back, we'll run you to the end of the stint here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya for the first of 3 stints for TORA's Funduro. Initially, I wanted to spend an entire lap on board with our leader in the bottom category, but this fight is starting to pick up again between Figgy Boy and Momonica, Figgy Boy here in the Nissan really seems to be struggling to keep that rear of the car under him. Keeps sliding wide in many, many different parts on the circuit, and that is giving Momo, who is a lot more stable in their Lotus, a fantastic chance to continue to slowly close the gap down between themselves and Fig. Our top two drivers, Rex and Sniffly, started on the front two rows and have been the only two drivers in the top two all day long. It has been a fight for third on down. Also, while we were away, Lil Kid Suave got by LMP Dragon. Apex Dragon has completely lost touch with our top six. And then you have Apex Yes, who has also been back there with them. Destroyer is in 9th, and Apex Kimmy is in 10th. The rest of the field has very much completely spread out in our rest of our categories. So it was really just this fight for third, and then a potential stalking battle for 5th that we are keeping an eye on here. That is Lil Kid Suave that you saw right there in the Corvette. If Fig continues to have issues and Fig and Momo catch each other again, we could see 3rd through 6th all stacked on top of each other here. Which dragon? There are two dragons in the field here. This is LMP Dragon, and then Apex Dragon is much, much, much farther back. So we can continue to watch Fig in the Nissan, who is struggling to close down. But we are getting to the point where we are starting to see Figgy Boy and Momo both bleed away some time here near the end. We only have about 5.5 minutes left in this stint. And we are starting to see the drivers farther down the grid closing in here. I imagine that Fig is just trying to back off a bit to save a little bit of pace, but there you can see 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th all on the same straightaway as each other there. But none of them are quite yet close enough to get the draft off of each other. Chiron and Fast Food, who have not been having a great time, are at risk of going a lap down before this event is over, and they are having a bit of a stalking battle between themselves. That's Sniffly Grunt driving by right there. And you're going to see just how close 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th is here. As you'll see Fig, Momonica, Suave, and Dragon. There's Fig, followed by Momo and Suave. So Suave has now caught Momo. So Suave, who's gone off circuit twice earlier in the event, now trying to dig deep to recover. You have to wonder what's going to be the deciding factor between Momo and Suave, because this is a duo that we've not really seen fighting today. Suave has been behind Momo for most of the event. So Momo doesn't exactly know, at least here at Catalunya, what the strengths and weaknesses in that number 360 Corvette are. But look at that! Suave's going to get to the inside of the Lotus at the top of Sector 3. Now firing down to the final two corners. This is great news, though, for Fig. This gives Fig a chance to just continue to relax their pace and not let the car slide out from under him. Side by side for 4th. Suave has the inside. He'll complete the overtake before they even get down the straightaway by a significant amount. And I think Suave might be close enough to maybe get a draft on Fig. All of a sudden, the fight for 3rd, 4th, and 5th has really kicked into high gear. And Dragon's just far enough back that if these three get into each other and really hold their laps up, Dragon could still crack his way into the top 5. Now through the big sweeper that is turn 3. Suave, who we have not really talked about in a fantastic light throughout the run, is having a great comeback here near the very end. With less than 3 minutes left, he's going to try and muscle his way by the Nissan of Figgy Boy here. Firing it down through Sector 2 into the lowest point of the sector. These cars are just slow enough that you could make overtakes here if you desire. Now coming back uphill. And it'll be this mostly blind right-hander. Oh, big hump over the curb there. You see 2 tires on that Nissan get all in the air. That's going to completely deny the Nissan its ideal grip. And here comes Suave to the inside. He's going to go deep, really deep. He ends up overshooting the braking zone, and that'll let Fig get right back by. Now Momo gets the inside line. Momo gets back by. Broke too aggressively, too hard, and threw away the position. But now he will get right back by the Lewis in the same position he did last time on circuit. Fig maintains his position in third for just a little bit longer. And onto the straight once again now. 1 minute and 45 seconds left, so this will be the last full lap around for this trio. Suave has done a fantastic job digging himself out of the holes that he got himself into earlier, but he is running out of time to steal the final step on the podium. Dragon is still stalking, but it does not seem like he has the presence enough to have a significant impact on this 3-way fight for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It was a giant bounce on the inside curb coming onto the back straightaway that brought Suave side by side with Fig earlier. Is it going to be a similar mistake this time, or can Suave do it without Fig making a mistake? Momo seems to be fading just a little bit now. Firing it off down through the chicane. And now they begin to accelerate up towards the backstretch once again. Both Fig and Suave had a better time through that corner that time. Who's got enough straight line speed? Suave's looking at the inside. Is he going to go for another big dive? He thought of it. There may have been a little bit of contact. Fig is all sorts of sideways, and now they're side by side uphill. Here comes the Lotus back to fray. The Lotus wants to make it 3 wide. There's no room. Suave on the extreme outside, trying to punch the Nissan, pinch the Nissan down. With less than 10 seconds left, still trying to pinch the Nissan to the extreme inside. The Nissan is sideways. The Corvette's sideways. They make contact again. Here comes the Lotus to the inside. Time's up. Over. Plow. And there's a spin. At the finish, there's a spin. Logan Suave gets up to 3rd, and Momo gets into Fig. And Fig spins, but should be able to maintain 4th. And that will be the final results here. Real quickly, let's run down the grid. This is Rexpertise, your winner, followed by Sniffly Grunt, who is quite a ways back. Then you have this 3-way masterclass fight between Suave, who barely got the position at the last moment, then Figgy Boy, who is completely backwards, and Momonica in the Lotus. Then just behind, you can see LMP Dragon locked up the brakes and slid a little bit wide. After that will be Apex Dragon in the Porsche quite a bit farther back, followed by Apex Yes in the Subaru, Destroyer, who is in this number 21 Camaro, I almost said Corvette there, followed by Apex Kimmy. So all of the Apex drivers finished relatively close to each other in positions, but nowhere near each other on track. After that will be Phoenix 8, then Vera Tabinks. After that will be Chiron and Fast Food, who had to make a uncharacteristic second pit stop. And then last in the top category will be DIR Dramora here. Then you go to the bottom category. Unsurprisingly, is Zoroiliac, who walked off with no fight whatsoever. Then you have Dr. Chair, who used some strategy to leapfrog his way up to second. After that is Kelchan, way farther down the order here. Then it is Lolba in the old classic Corvette. Then Mech1, who hemorrhaged a lot of positions in the final 2 minutes. We're not really sure what caused that. After that will be Lamborghini in the Mazda. And last place will be Lotus, way off pace from the rest of the field. And that is the rundown at the end here. And we're going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break. When we come back, we will hopefully be able to get some post-race interviews going here with some of our top finishers in the category. We'll be back momentarily here at Catalunya. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya. I am your host for today's broadcast in St. Louis 13. We are now in basically a prolonged holding pattern between stints right now. We are waiting for the lobby host, who we believe is Zeroliak, to go ahead and get the distances properly confirmed here. And then once said distances are properly confirmed, we will go ahead and send invites out to our top finishers in both categories, try and get their feedback on what their event had been like. If you want to see a little bit more racing like this, we will be covering stints 2 and 3. Normally I try to break up my broadcast for TORA events. Thank you, game. Normally try to break up my broadcast for TORA events to be one stint per broadcast, but considering that each stint is only going to be about 45 minutes, I'm going to keep everything on one single thing. And it does look like we're seeing a little bit of movement from cars on track, so we should be able to get some interviews done, or at least options for interviews done relatively shortly here. All right, sent some invites out to our top 3 finishers in the different categories, and hopefully we can get an interview in with a few of them before we get underway here for stint 2. All right, coming into the party right now is Rexpertise. Rex, are you able to hear me? Awesome. In the Xbox party, are you able to include your audio? All right, go ahead and do so. That was a pretty fantastic drive out there. The end looked very easy, but you and Sniffly had quite a good fight going on early on. What do you have to say about that battle early on in Stint 1?
It was pretty good. It was a classic case of someone is unbelievably fast in the straights and someone is unbelievably fast in the corners. Sniffly kind of gave it to me a bit easy because he kept just missing his braking points, and I was able to sneak the nose up it underneath him a few times and gave me sort of that short little burst of acceleration to the next corner where you just kind of have to look at the back of me and wait for a straight for his next passing opportunity. But I think it was around lap 3. I'm not sure what happened. We might have even traded paint, but he just kind of disappeared, and I drove away into the sunset. But it was good. It was good hard racing as well. Wasn't afraid of a little bit of contact. So that was nice to have a good hard scrap.
So I have to ask, there are 2 more stints. Who's going to be taking over this car for stint 2 and 3?
That'll be Rexpertise. I'm Iron Man.
All right. Okay, we'll keep an eye on Rexpertise then, or I should say future Rexpertise. Hopefully, future Rexpertise isn't going to be angry at past Rexpertise for exhausting him after the action in Stint 1. All right, well, and that's the word from our Stint 1 winner in the top category, but I want to talk with another driver, Figgy Boy here. Figgy, go ahead, include your audio in the party if you can. That was a very interesting fight that you had to the end. How in the world did you recover like that at the end?
Not a clue.
Completely out of control.
Oh, don't get me started. This car is a lot of fun to drive, but battling it is even more fun. It was that little hiccup at the end there, but outside of that, it was a lot of fun. It's just constant cars everywhere. It was quite nice, to be fair.
There was a little bit of contact between you and Momo and Lil Kid Suave in the final few corners. Any feedback on that? Do you think that was driver issue, car issue, just what?
Skill issue. No, but seriously, I'm not sure. I'll have to have another look at it, obviously. But as far as I can tell, Lil Kid Suave bump and run Monica, and then did the same to me. And then when I tried to fight back, I got turned in on. That's from what I've seen, but I'm welcome to be wrong because I've streamed it, so I can look back at it.
Well, not only have you streamed it, we caught it perfectly here on broadcast, so
Nice.
you're completely free to look at not one, but two different things. I do want to ask, though, who's going to be taking over that sliding Nissan in stints 2 and 3?
Oh, don't worry. I'll be rally crossing this thing throughout stint 2 and 3 as well.
All right, you seem to really like that Nissan. I do have to ask, have you rear-wheel drive swapped to that Nissan?
Oh no, this thing's rear-wheel drive. I just drive it like a rally car because it's the quickest way to drive it.
Okay, but like stock, it's usually all-wheel drive, so you put the
Yes.
rear-wheel drive swap. Okay, that's why.
Oh no,
I
it's
assumed,
all-wheel
but I
drive
wanted
as
to-
it is. It's currently.
Oh, it
all-wheel
is
drive.
all-wheel drive. You
Yes.
look like you're driving the rear-wheel drive swap of that. Oh
I've
my
had
goodness!
this. I've had this said many times driving this thing. I've got the brake bias so far back, so it rotates under braking. It's so much quicker than actually racing it like a normal car. Genuinely.
Well, hey, if it works, I guess it works, mate. Well, depending on how things go, we may end up talking to you again after a later stint. But until then, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, and we will let you go and get ready for stint 2 here.
Yes. Thank you too.
All right.
GG's.
Yep. Thank you also to Rexpertise. And with that in mind, we're just going to be in a bit of a prolonged holding pattern as we wait for the stint 2 lobby to get underway. But I've been your host for today's broadcast of St. Lear 13. The broadcast is not going to end. We're just going to be in, I guess you could say, a bit of a quieter, relaxed mode until we get a proper invite into stint 2. So we will be back momentarily here at Calunia for a little bit more NASCAR Fast Car TORA Funduro Racing here at Spain's premier Formula One circuit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insanely 13, as we are about to get underway here for stint 2 out of 3 for TORA's Funduro, their mini-enduro event here at Catalunya, where they take the cars from their NASCAR and Fast Car series and slam them against each other for 3 45-minute racing stints. Stint 1 was a pretty easy walk-off by Rexpertise over Sniffly Grunt, but the rest of the positions on track seemed to be up into the air until quite literally the last moment, where some fighting between Lil Kid Suave, Figgy Boy, and Momonica saw them all gain into each other, making plenty of contact and getting the Nissan all sorts of backwards in the final corners in the final few moments. If you missed our first bit, don't worry, it's going to be a 45-minute run with a standing start, so there's no pace lap, no warming up. You just immediately, once you load onto the circuit, you fire off and race, and it will be 45 minutes of running from that point forward. So we're going to try and do something a little bit different here. I hope I've knocked out enough Twitch-mandated ad breaks that I will not have to break away from the action at all during this 45-minute run. Fingers crossed. It's a big gamble, but I'm hoping that is the case, and we will not have to take ad breaks here during stint 2. As the time progression is set to 12x, you will see this event go into the nighttime. So you will see them running a significant chunk of this stint in completely nighttime conditions. Won't be right off the bat, but will be very shortly. As you see the clock ticking down, 2, 1, and we are underway once again. It was a drag race between Rex and Sniffly Grunt last time. Is it going to be the same this time? It is. And it is Sniffly Grunt who goes right to the front this time with no issue whatsoever. Rexpertise is under threat from Lil Kid Suave on the outside. And there's contact. Not a lot, but a little bit, and that's going to hold up Rexpertise just a little bit longer than anticipated. Apex Dragon is a little bit too wide, drops the tire into the dirt. He's going to fall down the order and nearly take Apex Yes off circuit with him. As Momonica is already fighting their way up track, Lil Kid Suave is starting in third position where he finished stint 1, and he still can see Rex and Sniffly Grunt just ahead, while Figgy Boy is trying to keep tempered ship in that Corvette behind for the moment. At the back of the grid, it is Lamborghini in the number 10 Mazda that leads over Dr. Chair. Zoroliak is trying to fight his way up the grid, but I want to keep an eye on this lead 2 battle as they now fire it uphill out of the chicane, running back up to the top of the circuit here, well, the top of sector 2 at least. They round that 90-degree right-hander, and now down the straightaway. This is where Sniffly Grunt has the best advantage. He has some fantastic straight-line speed, but Rex should be just close enough to get advantage of the draft. The big wild card is going to be Suave, and Suave sends it with an impossible move and bullies Rexpertise offline. Suave is now going to try and pinch Rexpertise down. He body slams Rex for the second time in 2 corners. Rex will hold on to lead as Suave is being very aggressive and very physical early on here, and that's all that Sniffly Grunt needs to try and open up a gap now. And now they fire it back down onto the front stretch once again. Lil Kid Suave is going to have a fantastic draft off of Rex, and Grunt is going to be so fast that Rex is going to lose the draft. So Suave might have another big dive bomb he's going to try. Rex is going to defend against the inside. Suave is just going to stay behind. Now he looks to the inside. He's not going to make the move. Not this time. Not here. Just about nose to tail. There's a little bit of contact. That time it's Suave who ends up worse out from it as he slides the rear of his Corvette all sorts of sideways, but he's still tucked up behind that Lotus. Not Lotus. Why did I say Lotus? I was thinking of someone else. Oh! And Rex just hooks him! Suave just hooks Rex! Suave just hooks Rex! And Rex hooks him back! And that is repayment! He made contact 3 separate times. The third time, Rex completely lost control and was nearly turned off circuit. And Rex said, "I've had enough," and he hooked Suave and sent him spinning into the dirt. And Suave goes from 2nd position to 9th. In stint 1, it was self-inflicted mistakes and then a lot of aggression near the end, but now in stint 2, it is a lot of aggression early on that has sent Rex off circuit. Has sent Suave off circuit, and now Rex has to try and run back down on Sniffly Grunt. So we saw this fight play out in the prior stint, but it does not look like it's going to be in quite the same way it was earlier. We may have had a lag out there. Now down the front straightaway. Big thing is, and that's a huge impact! That was Dragon in the Porsche! A gigantic hit on the inside wall, coming out, and the car is destroyed. Everything on the nose of the car is damaged. And Apex Dragon, who brought home a respectable 7th place run in the prior stint, now has catastrophic damage, is likely going to fall to last or next to last. And he may even have to make a 2nd pit stop because of how catastrophic the damage is going to be. When he pits, he may be knocked off sequence when it comes to strategy. Meanwhile, Fig has moved into 3rd with Momo in 4th. Once again, those two were stalking each other throughout the latter third of stint 1. Now they may be doing it all over again in stint 2. A big thing to consider, though, is that as this stint goes into the nighttime hours, the cars will start handling differently. If you have a car that handles very good in the daytime, it may not handle good at night, and vice versa. You could see some drivers making moves up the field that they weren't able to do in the daytime. So keep that in mind as this goes on. Apex, yes, is now the highest running of all the Apex team cars at the moment in 5th. And in the bottom category, your leader is Dr. Chair, followed by Zeroiliac. Then after that is Lulba, the same trio that were leading the end of stint 1 in this bottom category. Rexpertise continues to try and close in on Sniffly Grunt, but again, Grunt has the advantage of being able to just piss off in a straight line with some superior straight line speed, and Rex just cannot get close enough yet to take any advantage of the draft. It may take another lap or two before Rex can properly put the screws to Sniffly Grunt. For Little Kid Suave, who was getting way too aggressive before, nearly dumped Rexpertise before Rex said, "I've had enough of this," and Rex dumped him back. Suave has already recovered up to the 7th position. He is now running just behind Tempered Ship 142 right now. Going to try and go the long way around, coming out of 2. Now we'll have the inside going through 3. So Suave is already rushing his way back up the grid. And the big thing for Suave is that Suave had 2 off-track excursions in the prior stint, and that happened when the field was still relatively spread out, and he was still able to rush up the grid and just nip 3rd place at the end of it. Suave had his off-track excursion much earlier this time. There is a high likelihood we could see Suave fight his way back up to 3rd with a lot less drama and pizzazz. But I don't know if 1st or 2nd is still in the cards for him here. Well, you can't say he hasn't made things interesting. DTA Levine has now been overtaken by Dragon, so something is going on that is keeping Levine much slower than you would normally anticipate him being. I wonder if he is running a full fuel tank and heavier tires, trying to hope that cutting out time in the pit stop will help him. I'm not sure why he thinks that's a reasonable trick, but that does seem to be the trick he is going for right now. Enzo now slips by Tempered Ship on the inside. So once again, LMP Enzo moving up. This was the car that brought home a respectable run in the prior stint. This LMP machine. Now it's a different driver at the helm, but they're still firing their way up the grid, and Suave has already pulled up alongside Yes down the straightaway here. It's going to be a drag race. Who breaks later? It does look like when it comes down to it, Suave has the advantage, and Enzo nearly squeezes the Corvette of the Camaro of Tempered Chip off circuit there. You can see him knocking over the boards. So already, Little Kid Suave has recovered up into the 5th position. If he can just not be so aggressive that he gets turned by the drivers around him, Suave might still have something to say for the lead, but that's going to come down to how long it takes Rex Bertice here to get by Sniffly Grunt, because Rex has now caught Grunt. Now, Rex is in a car that is fantastic in the corners. Grunt is in a car that is fantastic in the straights. When it comes to sheer lap time, traditionally, a car that is better in the corners will be better than a car that is in the straights. But when it comes to a driver-on-driver battle, the car in the straights should be better than the car in the corners. There's absolutely exceptions. You can think of plenty of exceptions throughout racing history. You can do it, and I can do it as well. But that is traditionally how it works out. So for Rex, catching Grunt is not going to be an issue. We almost knew for certain that was going to happen. Passing could end up being a problem, though. But he's just about close enough to almost get a draft off of Grunt here as they're coming down to the final corners this time. He's got a good draft this time off of Grunt. Grunt is going to try and swerve to break the draft just a little bit there. Rex is going to follow. This is a little bit farther back here. Suave is closed up behind Momo. He's going to look to the inside. Can he complete the overtake early? He's a little bit sideways. Not a lot of contact that time. A little bit clearer. Now he's going to try and go the outside lane, and this time he squeezes down and pinches down that number 97. Got the outside line. Should give him a fantastic straight line speed here. But Momo can go nice and deep into the braking zone and hold the ideal lane through turn 4. But now, that 360 Corvette will have the ideal lane going through turn 5. Still hasn't been able to clear Momo yet. Now, Suave finally clears Momo. So Suave has now already recovered in about, 10 minutes? He's already gone from his accident that shunted him down to 9th. Has already recovered back up to 4th. But what of the fight for the lead? As our leaders have already caught bottom category traffic. Grunt's a little sideways there. You can see Rex trying to look to the inside, but his car is a bit too wide. Can't complete the overtake. Coming up about nose to tail here at the top of the hill. Grunt takes a little bit wider line, trying to stabilize the car a bit. We know that Grunt's machine is not happy in the corners. And now they fire it out of the final corner once again. Once more, Grunt has superior straight line speed, but Rex doesn't have to make this move going into turn 1 under braking. He can just hang out behind Grunt and hope that Grunt overcooks turns 1 or 2 or even turn 3. This time it looks like it's Grunt who's held up by traffic. Rex just follows the hole that Grunt basically punches through. Still, Rex not close enough to make a big dive into turn 4 this time. But you can see Grunt sliding a little bit wide. Here comes Rex, closing the gap back down just a little bit. As they're firing off through turn 2. Down into what you could kind of call a valley. Again, that smaller car has the acceleration and top-end advantage, so we're not going to see Rex pull up alongside Grunt and out-drag him in a straightaway. He's going to have to do it by either completing an overtake around the outside of a long corner or darting to the inside when that 89 can't really defend. Bit of bumper-to-bumper contact that time. Momo has actually gotten back by Suave, apparently. So Suave may have stalled out around the 3rd or 4th position on circuit here. All our top 2 continue to fight. Bit of a switch and slide. Both cars incredibly wide there at the highest point of the circuit. Now they fire it off back down to the last two corners. Real quick, we want to look farther down at this fight. Suave's already gotten back by Momo again. But Momo is not done. Momo is staying in place behind Suave. And all the while, Figgy is just trying to put together some laps and get away from that duo. He knows from experience how aggressive both Suave and Momo can be. Suave especially likes to get very aggressive. It looks like Momo on the inside is going to deny Suave the ideal line through turn 1. And Suave is going to fight back. He will get back into the 4th position going to turn 2. Momo looks to the outside. Can't make it stick. Momo is going to fall back in line behind Suave. And that's going to bring LMP Enzo up behind now. And somebody's went off circuit farther up the road. Who was that? Was that Woozy Emu? Yes, it does look like Woozy Emu has gone off there. That's the same car that Dremora was in earlier, so there seems to be something catastrophically wrong with this number 38 machine, as he is running even slower than some of our bottom category cars. But we look once again at our fight for the lead. Rexpertise right behind Sniffly Grunt as they fire it on to the back straightaway. Grunt has some fantastic straight line speed, but they're both going to have to deal with a lot of traffic here coming up. Most notably is going to be Woozy Emu as lights turn on here at night. But Woozy Emu is going to be something you really have to not worry about because he's lagged out. Oh, and there's contact! And one of our bottom category cars is dumped by our leader! Woozy Emu drops out and Rex is going to go to the front. But Rex is now being held up by traffic. It looks like Rex might be leaving, but Grunt has a great draft and superior straight line speed. Rex tries to swerve back and forth to deny Grunt the run. Grunt says, I don't care. He's going to try and go the long way around. Can he completely overtake before the braking zone? He does! Grunt goes back to the front. But Rex got the inside going into turn 1, but Grunt's going to have the inside to turn 2. They fire out. Grunt is going to be trapped on the outside in turn 3. He backs out, but he's going to let Rex have the lead going through turn 3. He does not want to be side by side through turn 3. A lot more fireworks, a lot more incidents happening here in Stint 2, and now we are into the nighttime. Little Kid Suave has made his way back up into the 3rd position now, trying to run down on this fight for the lead here. So it was poor traffic management by Grunt that gave Rex an easy shot at the lead. Now they come onto the back straightaway. Rex is going to have to deal with a little bit of traffic. He's going to go to the extreme inside, will overtake both of them without issue. Grunt is a lot later coming into the corner, and Grunt's going to miss the corner altogether. Grunt had to make a big dive and gets into it with Zroliak. That's Zroliak. That is your leader in the bottom category. Or who was the leader in the bottom category. This means now that Dr. Cher is going to walk up with the lead in the bottom category now. So the leaders in both top and bottom category, all 4 of them get into each other at the same time. And Zroliak and Sniffly Grunt are both have their races derailed by the contact made. So Grunt now is way behind Rexpertise. The gap is absolutely gigantic after that contact as the cars got hooked together, what sometimes unaffectionately gets called Forza glued. So this may have denied Grunt a chance to win Stint 2. This might be all it will take for Rex to walk off here with this Stint win once again. But I'm really interested to hear about Little Kid Suave. Suave, in about 18 minutes, has already made his way back up to the 3rd spot on track. Suave is absolutely hoofing it around circuit here as he goes by Dr. Cher, your leader in the bottom category now. And look at this here as well. LMP Enzo has taken that machine farther up the grid earlier than Dragon did in the prior stint. So he is trying to keep Figgy Boy and Momo behind. Big dive and send. And that will get Enzo right by Dr. Chair without too much issue. While Figgy Boy and Momo actually have to wait for a more traditional, opportune overtaking point. Oh, and Momo's into the dirt. Long time into the dirt at that. And that will give Fig a solid grip on 5th position for a little bit longer now. Real quickly, we look at Sniffly Grunt. There's no signs of damage on the car. But Little Kid Suave is running down on Grunt with some incredible speed right now. And now as I come onto the front straightaway here, you can see 4th and 5th, Enzo and Fig. Fig's just barely out of drafting range from LMP Enzo right now. Yeah, we saw early on that Porsche that Apex Dragon was in had a spin coming out of the final corner and went all the way across the track and slammed into the inside wall. It derailed his run early on, so we saw that on stream earlier. Real quickly, as we look at the pit stop strategies, Zoroiliak has already gone ahead and made his first stop. He wants to run a bunch of laps in nice clean air to try and get back by Dr. Chair. Not a great line there for Fig. I'm not really sure what the strategy was that time through there. Lil Kid Suave is bearing down on Sniffly Grunt. Consistently. This gap is continuing to close down. If Grunt continues to struggle with traffic management, that could be the big thing that brings Suave into a position to steal 2nd place here. I don't know, though, if Suave is going to have anything for your leader, Rexpertise. If he does, though, we can anticipate fireworks to fly. Because in the first lap and a half, Little Kid Suave door bang with Rexpertise, hard, completely knocking Rex offline twice with big dive bombs, side-by-side contact, and then a 3rd contact where Little Kid Suave hooked Rexpertise in turn 4. Rex barely kept the car under him, and Rex said, "I've had enough," and Rex put the bumper back to Suave and immediately dumped Suave off circuit. But Suave, despite going from what at the time was 2nd and falling all the way to 9th, Suave has already recovered back up to 3rd and may still have enough pace to run down on Rex. So there may be some revenge playing out later on between Suave and Rexpertise, depending on how the rest of this stint goes. Seems like Suave's forward momentum, his closing on Grunt, has stalled out just a little bit. Grunt may have stabilized his pace a little bit right now. In fact, most of our positions near the front seems to have been stabilized until you get back here where you have Momo and Tempered Ship, and this is just more of a grand stalking battle at the moment. Yeah, it seems like every fight has pretty much dissolved at this point. But we have some interesting drivers right at the front that we aren't used to. Suave, we saw him finish 3rd in the prior stint. But that was by the skin of his teeth. Right now, he is easily walking off with 3rd, even if he doesn't catch Grunt or Rex. And then 4th place is Enzo, and Enzo's teammate, LMP Dragon, didn't even crack the podium earlier. This time, there could be a chance for Enzo to make something happen. Then you have Figgy Boy, who is back in 5th. He's about where we expect him to be. Momo has slipped a lot farther down the grid early on. And then you have Temper Chip, and Little Kid Suave is making a very early pit stop. Not the greatest pit entry, but he is making an early pit stop. So we have gone through about 23 minutes. So Suave has cut this race distance, this stint distance, almost perfectly in half, so he will not have to worry about the tires getting much more worn in the very end of the event. So that might have been the best strategy call you can make here. You know that the car is only going to get that bad and no worse. With everyone else on track, their cars are going to continue to feel worse and worse as the tires go off, and the handling characteristics in general are going to get weirder as the fuel load burns off as well. So last stint, Sniffly Grunt pitted significantly earlier than Rexpertise. I'm curious to see if we're going to see a similar thing this time. I think we will, just because of how little fuel is left in Grunt's machine at the moment. As Grunt fires it off through the chicane once again. Also of note, Sad Cat and Phoenix 8 both went ahead and made stops on this lap as well. For Lil Kid Suave, he now has to deal with Apex Kimmy. Kimmy, who is in the, I believe that is the X-Ping. I'm absolutely love the fact that we actually have someone trying to represent the X-Ping here. I think that's the X-Ping. I am moderately sure it is the X-Ping. If it is the X-Ping, it's nice to see someone represent some of the Chinese electric cars. I don't normally care for electric cars, but the ones that we have in this game, especially the X-Ping, are actually pretty interesting and unique, and full credit for anyone willing to get some representation in them. Sniffly Grunt paying out second position as we anticipated. So the big question is going to be, where is Sniffly Grunt going to be in relation to this man right here, Lil Kid Suave? Figgy Boy also going to go ahead and pit out fourth place now. Look at that difference in car size between those two. Tempered Ship will also pit out of the sixth position. So we are deep into the middle of pit stops now. About halfway through, not just stint 2, but halfway through this entire TORA Mini-Enduro here. Was that Kimmy? And did Kimmy hit the pit in wall? Well, he's damaged the transmission somehow, which I didn't know you could do that in a electric car. But there's no sign of damage, although he has burnt up the tires. Alright, the gap between Sniffly Grunt and Lil Kid Suave has actually opened up in Grunt's favor. So Suave's forward momentum might have finally stalled out. He may have stalled in the third position now. Your leader, Rexpertise, is being held up by a little bit of traffic here, but we anticipate he's going to be pitting at the end of this lap. And he'll have about 18 minutes left to go to the end of this stint. Dr. Cher, who is leading in the bond category, still has yet to make his only mandatory stop. And yes, sure enough, Rexpertise will be pitting out of the lead this time by. So we're anticipating it will be Enzo who will pit this time as well. And Momonica will almost certainly pit this time, and we'll see the lead likely stay in Rex's hands. No, Enzo's staying out a lap. So Enzo is going to stay out a little longer. He wants to be leading here. But Momo has pitted. So Sniffly Grunt now has Lil Kid Suave up behind. This is the fight for what is effectively going to be second place on track. Rex has already come out of pit lane. He's massively opened his gap on this duo. Big dive to the inside, and this time it's Suave who comes down onto. So it was Grunt who came down and banged doors with Suave, but it was Grunt who got all sorts of sideways. So Suave is now by, but Grunt's going to use the straight line speed advantage to try and fight back. Drag race between these two, and we should see Grunt complete the overtake before the braking zone. Does Suave try a big dive? No, Suave actually gets himself a little bit sideways under braking, trying to stay behind the number 89 machine. But now he puts the bumper back to Grunt. Still, Grunt holds on to what is third right now, was overall second on the little short shoot run down to turn 4. Suave's being a little bit more relaxed. He's not going for anything absolutely crazy right now. But he's going to have to be careful and cautious when he wants to make this overtake. But he also has to be quick. It's a fair balance. You're fighting a car that is absolutely a monster in the straight lines. Grunt has a car that is considerably better balanced all around than what Grunt's is. Suave has a wider line, trying to carry more speed onto the straight there. Enzo finally pitting out of the top position, so that will give the lead back to Rex. We're basically guaranteed to see Enzo drop behind this duo and back out of the podium positions. Grunt's just trying to run the most extreme defense you can possibly do here. Suave seems a little bit befuddled. He doesn't really seem to understand how to get by. That Alpine, big slide by both of them, but Suave was a little bit worse for the wear that time. And now we'll see the gap open up massively in favor of Grunt as they go down the straightaway here. So this is likely going to be all it takes to protect Rex Pertice's second straight stint victory. I see no way that Suave is going to be able to dispose of Grunt and then be able to run down Rex Pertice when we only have about 16 minutes left in the event, unless Rex gets absolutely knocked off circuit by slower traffic. I just don't see it happening. I don't think they're going to hit each other and find each other. Sad Cat makes a pit stop. We're still waiting on Chiron, VT, and DTA Levine to stop in the top category. We're still waiting on FFR Suicine and your bottom category leader, Dr. Chair, to make their first stop as well. Sad Cat's actually already making their second stop of the event. More than anything else, I'm shocked that Chair has stayed out this long. Still has plenty of tire life and fuel left, so I'm not sure what the strategy there is, but whatever it is, he seems to be relatively happy with it. He is your leader, primarily off the back of Sniffly Grunt smacking into his rivals Royaliac earlier in the event. And right now, Grunt is starting to open up a small gap between himself and Lil Kid Suave. Oh, Suave's got a little bit too aggressive, and he's into the dirt. Completely self-inflicted that time. And that's going to bring Enzo up into the fray. There's contact! Huge contact between Suave and Enzo. Is Enzo damaged? No damage to Enzo. What about Suave? Suave's car is destroyed. The right side is destroyed. Somehow, the contact between Enzo and Suave only damaged Suave's machine, and that is going to take Suave out of any running for not just a top 3 result, but out of a top 5 and possibly out of a top 10 result here. So Suave, one of the fastest but most aggressive drivers on track, went too aggressively coming out of the second to last corner. Looked like he had a bit of a sim twitch and sent it into the dirt. That was not the problem. The problem was he came back onto the track at the worst angle possible and got drilled in the side by Enzo. Somehow, Enzo got out of it with no damage whatsoever, but the same cannot be said for Suave, as he is going to plummet down to one of the bottom positions in the top category. And that will solidify Grunt's position on second place more than likely, and Enzo will now be up in third spot as he has been gradually pulling away from Figgy Boy and Momo. Little Kid Suave continuing to just hemorrhage time. He still has to complete this entire lap around before he gets to stop. So, yeah, for Little Kid Suave, I could very easily see him falling down to the 11th or 12th position here. This is DTA Levine, who is one of the drivers who still have yet to make their mandatory stop, and they'll have to do it likely at the end of this lap because there's only about 3 minutes left. You are not allowed to make your one mandatory stop when there is 10 minutes left, so you have to have it done before that race timer says 25 minutes left. So I imagine we'll see Levine and Chiron both pitting at the end of this lap. Lil Kid Suave finally makes it into the pit lane. He'll likely fall to about the 9th or 10th position here. Boy, Kimmy is absolutely struggling keeping that really heavy electric supercar under him. And yeah, sure enough, Levine pits. Chiron did not stop. He's almost out of fuel, but Chiron did not stop. It looked like he was slowing down, but didn't come into the pits. Did he overshoot and miss pit in? Because if so, that's going to derail Chiron's chance forward. Also, Lil Kid Suave, after pitting, only fell to 8th position, but he is still quite a ways behind Yes right now. So I think that Suave is only going to be able to stay in about 7th or 8th position. I don't see a chance for him to move much farther up the grid. But Chiron might run out of fuel before this is over. He is down to just 1%, or a little bit over 1% left in the fuel tank, and still has to make it the rest of the way around. So chaos and drama has been the story of the day here at Stint 2 for Catalunya. We have about 11 minutes left. But for Chiron, time is not the issue. The lack of fuel is. He is only about halfway around the circuit, and the thing is just about out of gas. He is now running on fumes. Will he have enough momentum to drag the car back to pit lane? Boy, you can visibly see how slow he is now. Basically on fumes. The car is just puttering around. He will make it to pit road, though. But there is a very high likelihood we will see him fall to last place if all the drivers still running in category. Sad Cat is fighting with Apex Dragon right now, or staying ahead of Apex Dragon, but remember, Dragon had that big accident early on, so Dragon is just trying to nurse this car home. He is, I think, on a harder set of tires, just trying to not make a second pit stop here. But he is last of everyone on track. He will leapfrog back ahead of Chiron, as Chiron ran out of fuel, but Dragon, who arguably should be running in the 7th, 8th, 9th positions, that early accident has completely derailed his run. In the bottom category, it is Dr. Chair who continues to lead over Zroiliak. Zroiliak a little bit farther down the grid in this mini, but Zroiliak has got to be frustrated at Sniffly Grunt, because it was Grunt making a big dive trying to overtake two different cars in the bottom category at the same time, the two leaders, and Grunt ended up hitting Zroiliak, and the two got Forza glued offline, and it caused Zroiliak to bleed off a significant amount of time. Meanwhile, Dr. Chair has been running clear all by himself. Zroiliak did pit early to try and get some nice laps in clean air, and he is well ahead of everyone else in his category. But now he is at a tire life disadvantage compared to Dr. Chair, who only pitted about a lap or two ago. Dragon trying to close back in on Sad Cat. Cat also has had to make 2 pit stops over the course of the event today. We're not really sure what the reasoning was for the extra pit stop for Cat, but it's another day that has been derailed for another driver here. This is Tempered Ship running in 5th position in that Camaro, as he is trying to navigate his way through traffic, going by another old classic GM car, an old classic Vet. But Tempered Ship just needs to make sure he doesn't make any mistake, and he'll be fine and be able to hold station over, yes, every position I would argue on track has pretty much been solidified except for 3rd and 4th, because Enzo is now starting to lose ground to Figgy Boy. So we could see Figgy Boy in another explosive fight for 3rd position on track here to the end. Ah, okay, so apparently what happened to Sad Cat is that there is a fuel mistake. They did not get the proper amount of fuel in the car. Enzo dropped tires onto the dirt, coming onto the front straightaway. This is great news for Figgy Boy. He gets another full straightaway where he can continue to close in on that Enzo machine. BMW just struggling to stay here. Enzo moved up through the field very quickly, but over the last few minutes, he has been struggling now. And Figgy Boy is starting to come on strong again. Momo is in 5th. If these two fight for a prolonged period of time, Momo will be there to capitalize, but I'm not so sure Momo is actually going to be a fighter in this. It may just be Fig versus Enzo for the 3rd position here. Your leader is Rexpertise, holding a massive gap over Sniffy Grunt. Little Kid Suave had fought all the way up to 2nd on 2 different occasions, but after the 2nd one, a bad rejoin on the track saw his car get absolutely demolished, and Suave has fallen to 8th and is unlikely to be able to gain any positions from that. This is the most active potential battle on track right now between Figgy Boy and LMP Enzo right now. Apex Dragon and DTA Levine apparently having a little bit of a fight going on farther down the grid here. So Dragon trying to recover a little bit from his own big accident in the opening few minutes of this stint. And here we are, coming onto the straight once again. This time Enzo doesn't go wide. Fig sees the gap is just too big. He's not close enough to get a draft off of Enzo. There's a little less than 5.5 minutes left in this stint. '11th, 12th, and 13th all on top of each other. There is an outside chance that Rex catches them and starts trying to put them a lap down, but I'm not too worried about that happening. Rex has enough of a gap over Sniffly Grunt. He could probably just back off a bit, sacrifice a little bit of his gap to Grunt in order to just not completely destroy his car, getting involved in someone else's fight. Stalking battle between Enzo and Figgy Boy continues. That's your leader right there, Rex, who's going by. That's Chiron, who's just put a lap down. You'll see Sniffly Grunt coming into the picture very shortly. There's Sniffly Grunt. And the more interesting fight is going to be the next group of cars that come on. There is 3rd place and there is 4th. You'll get a perfect view as to what the gap is between LMP Enzo and Figgy Boy here. I think it's about 3 seconds, about 2.8 to 3.1 seconds between Enzo and Figgy Boy at the moment. While I would argue that the gap is closing, it is not closing fast enough for Figgy Boy to have a serious shot at this. One thing that could end up happening, though, this is Sad Cat behind DTA Levine. Apex Dragon has moved through traffic, but Levine is struggling to get through traffic, and so has Sad Cat, and these two are still fighting, and they do have the race leader barreling down them. He's only about 3 minutes and 10 seconds out from the end of this stint, but he could still catch one or both of them before this is over. Bit of a dive and slide there by Sad Cat. Tucked up there behind Levine. Up to the top of the circuit. The highest point on the track in Sector 3 here. And now from here they begin to fire it back downhill once again. Ooh, Levine's a little bit too wide, I'd argue. Cat's going to have a fantastic run, try to use the draft. We make a maneuver here. With only about 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. This lap they're starting now will be the last full lap around that this duo will get. And Levine is in ghost mode all of a sudden and is slowing. Something's gone wrong. Has there been a controller disconnect or something on Levine's car? As now we see Sad Cat goes by. Something has gone wrong for DTA Levine. And this is almost guaranteed going to put them a lap down, I imagine. Yep, there goes the leader. Levine goes a lap down. They're still flashing in ghost mode. They've got engine damage as well. Whatever's happened to Levine has gone catastrophically wrong. Figgy Boy has fallen off from Enzo in the last lap, so that fight seems to be over. It looks like just about every battle on track has basically dissolved now. Everyone seems to be in their positions for good, but there is still a possibility that we see Sad Cat get put a lap down by Rexpertise before this is over. Less than a minute left. Well, at least this time we're not likely to have absolute madness and chaos to the end here. Apex Dragon works his way around the outside of one of the bottom category cars. Your winner in the bottom category will be Dr. Chair. So while Rexpertise and Sniffly Grunt have put down a near insurmountable gap on the rest of the field for first and second in the top category, it is a legitimate fight to the end now between Dr. Chair and Zororliak in the bottom category. Less than 25 seconds remain. LMP Enzo is actually going to make it a little bit farther around the track than where third place made it in the prior stint. Not by a massive amount, but as you see the clock hits 15 flat, time's up, over, plow. So LMP Enzo will come home third, but your winner, once again, back-to-back wins in the top category for Rexpertise, followed by second place, Sniffly Grunt. Back-to-back seconds, LMP Enzo puts on a fantastic drive and takes home third. Figgy Boy will have to settle with back-to-back fourth place finishes. Momo will be fifth for the second time as well. Tempered Ship will move up into the sixth position. Apex Yes will be seventh. Lil Kid Suave could only recover to 8th after a big crash in the midsection of this stint. Apex Kimmy will come home in 9th in the XP. Phoenix 8 will be 10th. 11th will be the Porsche of Apex Dragon. 12th will be Sad Cat. And 13th will be DTA Levine, who had some sort of catastrophic failure late in the event. Then after that will be Chiron, will be 14th, last of the runners of the top category. Woozy Emu was in the category, but went a lap down early and then disconnected. Your winner in the bottom category is Dr. Chair, PhD, followed by Zororliak in the Mini Cooper. Then is Lulba, who goes back-to-back third-place finishes in the Classic Corvette. After that is TBR Mech 1, then Lamborghini R2D2 in the Mazda, FFR Sweesing, and last of our runners will be Lotus 5 again. So we will be back in a short period here to try and get some post-stint interviews with our various top finishers here. We will be back momentarily at Catalunya. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you back here to Catalonia as we are watching what seems to be some sort of issue here with connectivity for Sad Ket, as Ket, who disconnected about a minute or two before the stint ended, is now back to disconnect, and the game is kind of auto-driving around. Hopefully they were able to get their distance recorded before it was too late. But things seem to have gone from bad to worse for Ket. Beyond that, though, we are still waiting on everyone to get their final distances in before we start trying to get some post-stint interviews. Also, Apex Dragon was nice enough in the chat to say that they put on soft tires. I thought they would put on some medium tires after the accident because it happened so early, but apparently they put on some soft tires and they were trying to dig deep to make up ground. Well, it does look like for Dragon, we believe it should have gotten him an 11th place result. He said he was able to get his tires to about 55% wear, so the tire fall-off was not too terribly bad. It also means that potentially pitting early may not be the worst option for some drivers in Stint 3. I wouldn't advise doing it, but it does seem like that might be a legitimate strategy that we could be looking at here. But right now we are in a bit of a standby here, waiting to see how long it will take to get the rest of the distances recorded here. Well, hello, Rexpertise. It looks like we're going to meet again here. What?
Hi
Go
there.
ahead, include your audio. That was a much more chaotic Stint 2 for you. What do you have to say about your run out there?
Oh, that was great. Stifling just disappeared off of the line. The Celine's such a slug off of the line, and it gave us. I think we had like 10 laps of battling. It was that accordion effect again. Of just every time we got to a straight, he would disappear. I had the initial grip and acceleration at the low speed section of the corner, but once we got going, his momentum just carried him, and it was just you could see once the time of day changed and the grip factor got lower, the rear of that Alpine was very unhappy, making mistakes to let me go by, and that's I was gaining ground there, and we came up to lap some cars. I don't know if you saw it on the feed, but one of them was like major netcode problems, and I think Stifley got a little bit. He was quite tentative. He was playing it safe, probably for the right reasons, because I didn't know what he was going to do. But it just allowed me in the final sector. I just snuck up the inside, and it was a really good battle, actually, really enjoyable. I had another little battle at the start. There was a Corvette as well. I'm trying to remember who it was, who we had a good fight with, who had a really good start. Much more aggressive in his attacking moves. Very encouraging to use his body work against mine to shuffle me out the way. But it looks like he had like a big spin in 4, so it was just after that pretty safe, thank God. And I just kind of got to punch the laps in and
Hello, Enzo.
relax.
Wait just 1 minute, Enzo, and then we'll start an interview with you. All right. Yeah, Rex, that early fight between you and Lil Kid Suave seemed to be really big. But just to verify, when he went around off your front bumper in turn 4, that was not intentional. That was not payback for him nearly dumping you off track the turn before?
No, Jesus Christ, no. It was,
Okay,
like I said in the last interview, I love hard racing. I love a bit of trading pain. But he just kind of, I think, because he lost the rear and I was accelerating, I think it probably looked like it was a vicious attack.
From our perspective, and by say our, I mean my perspective, it looked like he tried to dump you going into turn 4, and then once he got by you, because you went offline, it looked like you said, I've had enough of this, and you hooked him right back. So it looked a lot more dramatic on my end than the way that you're selling it to me,
I'd have to check back. I mean, you got to remember that was like half an hour ago now. But yeah, I'll have to look back. Don't get me wrong, I was getting frustrated because he was giving me little kisses, slightly aggressive kisses, but I can't remember that exact battle. But to do something deliberate would be childish.
All right. Well, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, Rex. I'll be interested to see if you can make it back-to-back stint wins here at Catalunya.
Thank you very much. Catch you later.
Yep. All right. And now I want to talk to LMP Enzo. Enzo, are you able to include your audio in the Xbox party? All right. Enzo, it was a very interesting run from you. You didn't start super high up the grid, but you rocketed it up to the 3rd position instantly. How in the world did you go up that quickly?
I would say it's a little bit of the turning and straight line speed. We had good straight line speed at the end. I feel like for this track, straight line speed is 50-50. It's part of the factor here. So, the car, it was a bit funky on the turns, just oversteering. I had to get that corrected. But other than that, just I don't know. I was just flying in that car.
I do have to ask about the incident that happened between you and Lil Kid Suave when he went off and then merged back onto the circuit. Do you feel that was a bad merge onto the track from Suave, or do you feel that he was fine and it was just nothing better that you guys could have done?
Honestly, the rejoin wasn't the rejoin wasn't great by him, but it didn't really mess me up that much. He probably just lost the car going into there and just focused getting back on track. But other than that, just it didn't really bother me at all. I thought I was gonna get damaged, but I guess we were good in that stint.
Yeah, you got incredibly lucky because his car is absolutely destroyed in the impact, and you seem to have nothing at all from that.
Yeah, I don't know how I didn't get damaged. I hit him really hard, as you could see. I'm guessing the way I hit him, just Forza just let me be lucky that time. Yeah.
Well, luck definitely played into your top result, but I feel more than anything else, it was definitely skill and contentness. You were very content with the car by the looks of it. Brought you a great podium result. I have to ask, who's going to be taking over this car in stint 3?
It will be LMP TVR for the last stint, so yeah, you'll definitely be you'll definitely be seeing him flying up the order.
All right, I'm definitely going to be very interested to see what LMP TVR can do. It's been a little while since I've got to see him in a tour event. Normally he ends up in lobbies either higher or lower than when I broadcast, so it'll be nice to see him again. But thanks for jumping in and talking with us, mate. That was a fantastic run up the grid that you pulled off today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
All right, and with that in mind, that'll wrap up our interviews from Stint 2. But don't go away. This broadcast is going to continue for a little bit longer, and we will still be here when they fire up the beginning for Stint 3 here at Catalunya. One more round of 45-minute racing to go, and we're going to cover it for you as close to commercial-free as we can. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we are going to go ahead and take an ad break. We'll be back in a little bit once the next stint is going to get underway. Until then, don't go away. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya. I am your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13, as we are currently getting the grid ordered up here for our third and final stint of the day today. Hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully we will be in a position to watch the event end under still engaging but slightly less wreck-filled circumstances. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping that ends up being the case. But anyways, I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. If you have missed us, we are doing TORA's once-a-year fun enduro, where they take their NASCAR and fast car categories and basically bash them together for about 2 hours and 15 minutes worth of racing. This year is going to be at Catalunya. We have already done 2 stints. Rexpertise and Sniffly Grunt have been walking off with the victories in the prior 2 stints with no issues whatsoever, and we are anticipating to see the same thing happen again here as we are about to load onto the circuit for stint 3 of the event today. The third and final stint, to be exact. We're not moving? Nope, now we're moving. There's some issues farther back in the grid, though. We have a drag race up front, but there is some sort of hiccups farther back. But it is, once again, Sniffly Grunt who just rushes off ahead into the lead as they go down into turn 1. This time, though, Rexpertise will not be under threat. It is Figgy Boy and Apex Dragon going at it here for the 3rd position farther back, but immediately Rexpertise is able to keep up with Sniffly Grunt. If the last 2 stints are anything to go by, this could be a very, very short fight here for the lead. Meanwhile, in the bottom categories, Royaliac is your leader, but he has Lamborghini R2D2 right behind him. Is Lamborghini going to be able to make any moves on this tiny little machine? A little bit of contact. The A3 got a little bit sideways, but it's not enough to really upset him. It looks like for the moment, Royaliac has it. But at the front, side by side for just the briefest of moments, Grunt has it over Rexpertise, but how long can he keep it here? We know that if Rexpertise finishes around, even if Rexpertise doesn't win the stint, if he finishes right behind Rexpertise, he is guaranteed to win the event overall. Right now, it is not about overall distance, it is about just winning the stint and saying, hey, look, I was able to do this. Figgy Boy is currently in 3rd position, trying to keep LMP TVR behind. Apex Dragon and Apex Kimmy are having a bit of a fight farther back. And Little Kid Suave is already trying to force his way up the grid as he is side by side right now with Kimmy, trying to go the long way around the X-Ping. Hasn't been able to make it stick yet. Puts the power down, but still is not able to clear the very torquey machine. Puts a little bit of a bumper. They're going to be 3 wide ever so briefly, and there's contact! And that's Dragon, who's going to go around the outside, and he's now blocked by his teammate. So Kimmy still holds on to this position. So the 2 Apex drivers and Lil Kid Swab having a crazy fight, and here comes, yes, another Apex driver trying to make something of it. He's going to come up around the extreme inside. Kimmy is slow. Kimmy is very slow as they go down the straightaway. Has something gone wrong? There's no damage, but he is incredibly slow and has now fallen out of the top 10. So Dragon holds on to 5th. Yes, moves up to 6th over Lil Kid Suave now. Suave stays ahead of Momo for the moment, but it looks like Yes is holding on to 6th and Dragon is holding on to 5th. Figgy Boy has now fallen behind LMP TVR, and your leaders are still Rexpertise following Sniffly Grunt. But as they come out of the corner, it's going to be a drag race down the hill here. Immediately, Sniffly Grunt holds the top position. The straight line speed in that machine is just way more than anything that Rex can do. Rex needed traffic to get by him first time. The second time, he just got by him a little bit argy-bargy, but with some mano-y-mano action, coupled with the two making some big door-to-door contact with each other. How is Rexpertise going to get by Sniffly Grunt this time? The other thing is that what are they going to do if LMP TVR gets close enough to start properly fighting with them? If Grunt and Rexpertise's pace is just not there, and TVR is able to make something of it, we could have a different winner. Now, while that LMP entry is not legitimately fighting for outright win, that could be enough to give LMP TVR a top 3 result, and still being able to win a stint in general would be fantastic. A little bit wide goes Sniffly Grunt coming out of the final corner. Here comes Rex. Here comes TVR. TVR had a better run than either of them. We run board with TVR. He's going to shoot to the inside of Rexpertise. He's by. Now he's closing in on Sniffly Grunt. He's got a big draft on Sniffly Grunt. Is he going to make the move? He's going to go try the outside. Side by side. Heavy under the brakes. Can TVR make it stick? They're still side by side. Now they fire off into turn number 2. They accelerate out. Grunt holds on to the inside line, the ideal line of choice. Here comes Rexpertise back on the inside. He's going to try and use the inside to get back by LMP DVR. So now it is a menage a trois here for the top step here for all 3 top steps. Oh, and that's a big dive by Rex. Rex went for a big dive there in turn 4 and knocked Sniffly Grunt offline. Grunt falls to 3rd. And LMP TVR got through with minimal contact, so TVR is back now to be in its 2nd position. What can LMP TVR try to do to Rexpertise while he's still there? Now they go back through Sector 2. This is an area where typically Rex has been very strong at, but we don't know how good he's going to be compared to LMP TVR. We have had 3 different LMP drivers in that BMW machine. Each one has been getting better results, better drives than the prior one. What can TVR do as they come onto the back straightaway once again? TVR definitely is in a car that is faster in a straight line than Rex is, but he's not so fast that he can send it up for some incredible runs. Still, Rex is going to have to do an incredible defensive drive as they go down the front straightaway here. Rex was a little bit wide coming on to Sector 3. Now they're at the top of the hill, now going through the last 2 corners. Interesting enough, Biggie Boy has actually closed in on Sniffly Grunt a little bit as well now. Coming on to the front straightaway once again. TVR is just close enough to get a draft. He is not going to try and follow Rexpertise, and when he's trying to break the draft, he's fine with just holding a lane. He's going to go the long way around. He's going to complete the overtake on Rexpertise like Rex is sitting still. Rex is going to go back to the inside, goes nice and deep under the brakes. We see them still side by side. Rex is now going to be on the outside as they go into turn number 3 here. Now Rex gets back to the inside as TVR hit the curb, went a little bit wide, so Rex is now going to be back on the inside, but TVR has the straight line speed advantage. He pulls on Rex in a straight line. Outstanding stuff there. So Rex seems to be in a car that's a little bit more stable than Grunt, but has most of the same amount of straight line speed advantage, and if these two continue to fight, there is a possibility they could drag Sniffly Grunt back into the fray here. Also, Little Kid Suave is already back up into the 5th position, but he is not making the massive charge up the grid like what we saw earlier. For some reason, his momentum seems to be stalling out relatively early this time. Another bit of a twitch there by Rex. Rex seems to be struggling just a bit behind LMP TVR. Are we going to see a different winner in the top category here in this final stint? Rex, does, at least right now, does not seem to have an answer for TVR. Farther down the order, in the bottom category, your leader once again is Dr. Chair, and his closest rival Zoroiliac runs in 3rd position. So there's still a legitimate fight between Chair and Zoroiliac for winning in the bottom category of cars. Rexpertise trying to close back in on LMP TVR. He wants to get a draft, and Rex is into the dirt! Rex is into the dirt! And this might bring Sniffly a chance to try and close back on Rexpertise. As they go down the straightaway, Sniffly has superior straight line speed. He will get 2nd place back. Sniffly is backed by Rexpertise, and LMP TVR is vanishing into the distance. And Figgy Boy still hangs out in 4th, just a little bit behind this group at the moment. Fire it down now into turn number 3. Zroiliak seems to be gradually bleeding off positions now. He's now fallen to 4th in his category. But now it is Sniffly, Grunt, and Rexpertise fighting again, but they are not fighting for the overall stint win like they had the last 2 times. This is now a fight for second as LMP TVR is vanishing out into the distance. Oh, big twist as Grunt got sideways, hitting one of the inside curbs. It's going to bring Rex right up behind. Rex actually has to back out a bit, coming onto the back straightaway just so he doesn't hit the 89 from behind. He's going to have a fantastic draft, but the 89 has superior straight line speed, immediately starts gapping between himself and Rexpertise. Rex is going to send it for a gigantic drive into the corner. He misses the braking zone, completely botches the corner. Sniffly Grunt holds on to the 2nd spot. So Rex is still running just behind Grunt here. Now he looks to the inside. They're going to be side by side briefly as they come to the top of the hill. But Grunt has a straight line speed advantage and uses that to stay ahead of Rex by the time they get to the following corner. Now through the last corner once again as they fire off down the longest straightaway. Once more, Rex is going to get right behind Sniffly Grunt. He's going to get the draft, but Grunt is so fast that there's not going to be anything you can really do to him going into turn 1, I imagine. And LMP TVR is absolutely gone. He is gone up the road. Now Rexpertise seems to have calmed down a little bit. He's been a little bit rattled, having fought with LMP TVR and being so thoroughly trounced by him so early on. Rex seems to have gotten a little bit rattled, but I think he's kind of settling himself down, kind of re-racking and restacking the nodes in his brain, and now he can start trying to just put down some good lap times and outrun at least Sniffly Grunt at some point. The good news is that the LMP team, while they have had a good run, they are so far behind Rex and Grunt in distance that unless TVR pulls out something like a half a lap victory over this duo, they are not likely to win the B lobby level of TORA's Funduro event overall. So I would imagine, can't guarantee, but I would imagine that while TVR can win this stint, this here is the true fight for the overall win. And realistically, as long as Rex just hangs out roughly around where Sniffly Grunt is, Rex should win overall, at least out of everyone in the B lobby. Already, LMP TVR is catching traffic. That is Lotus, and just a little bit ahead of him will be TVR McConey. No issue for TVR going the long way around traffic there. This duo may have a little bit more issue trying to clear traffic, though. Rex is going to dive to the inside, coming out of the corner, but doesn't have the speed, and now he is forced to just hang out behind Sniffly Grunt once more as they head down the straightaway. Grunt's going to catch traffic, and so will Rex in turns 1 and 2. And it looks like Lotus just pulls off, so he is not an issue. They'll still have to deal with TVR and McConey shortly here. But at the moment, it looks like these two are relatively evenly matched. It's been mistakes primarily that has screwed over Grunt the last 2 times these drivers were fighting. What's it going to be this time? Or is Grunt going to be able to finally keep Rex behind him the entire time? Figgy Boy is starting to lose touch with this duo now, as the LMP entry is rushing off into the distance. The biggest thing that LMP TVR can hope for now is for this duo, Rexpertise and Figgy Boy, to have some sort of accident, something to send them both off circuit, to give the LMP team some sort of hope of winning the event overall. They came home, I believe it was 6th in stint 1, 3rd in stint 2. A win in this stint would not be enough to close in on Rex and Sniffly unless these two had a mistake. Figgy Boy is 4th, but he has been losing ground to this duo, and Little Kid Suave seems to have stabilized in 5th. He seems to have finally found a balance between pace and aggression. Coming onto the front straightaway once again, Rex has everything he needs to stay in time with Grunt around here, but he has not seemed to be able to make any big moves on him. Also, about halfway through this stint, we will see it go from night to day, so the handling characteristics of the cars will go through another change at that point in the event. Lulba has had some sort of incident here. Something's gone wrong with Lulba. That car is stopped on the circuit. There's still fuel in it. There's not a lot of tire wear. Whatever has happened to Lulba, I have no clue. But mind you, Lulba had finished top 3 in stints 1 and 2 in the bottom category, and now Lulba is about to fall to dead last in category. So I don't know what's happened to Lulba, but this is catastrophic for them. Meanwhile, Grunt and Rexpertise are in the middle of their fight. Rex is trying to go the long way around. Can't make it stick through there. Maybe he can try a crossover coming out of the chicane. Does not look like it. Grunt will easily outrun him up the hill here. As long as Grunt doesn't hit the curb at a bad angle, he'll pull away in a straight line. Rex has a tighter line, lets him pull back alongside ever so briefly. Does he try to make a move, go the long way around? It would set him up to potentially be on the inside in the next cornering zone, but no! Rex slides the rear tires out a bit. Sniffly Grunt holds on to second for a bit longer. Coming around, down to the last 2 corners of the lap. Traffic ahead once again. We've seen traffic derail runs, especially for Grunt. This time, Grunt is able to clear traffic just in time. Doesn't have his run derailed too badly. They are coming up on a little bit more traffic shortly here, though. I believe it is FRR Sweesing that they are coming up on. Which way do you go? It looks like Grunt went the inside line. Rex was a little bit more hesitant, actually let Grunt open the gap on him a bit in a corner, which has been a very rare development for this duo. TVR now breaks into clean air. He has cleared the bottom category. Here comes a big run to the inside by Rex. There's nothing that Grunt could do to fight back. Rex goes to the top now. Well, Rex goes to second now, I should say. Grunt has the run. He has superior straight line speed. He'll briefly pull up alongside the rear bumper, but is not willing to try and make a move in the chicane here. They come back uphill. Grunt's going to be right behind Rex. And this back straightaway, is it going to be long enough for Grunt to get alongside? Oh, Grunt going all the way, the extreme outside. Normally the extreme outside line like this wouldn't work. Rex holds on for a bit longer. Grunt is still there behind. That's Dr. Chair, the leader in the bottom category. Rex is going to be held up just a little bit. Not by a massive amount, but it will be enough to compromise him a bit. But Grunt's compromised on corner exit. That may have been it. That might have been all it would have taken for Rex to bring this home. Now they fire it off down the straightaway once again. Rex has a significant advantage over Grunt this time. I don't think Grunt is close enough to get back by Rex before the braking zone. I think this fight for second is over, and Rex has taken second now. And again, unless Rex and Grunt have some sort of catastrophic accident, this should be all it takes for LMP TVR to win the stint, but Rex to win the overall Enduro here. About 18 minutes into this run. Well, you can audibly hear as we run forward with Grunt how much he is struggling to keep that car underneath him. So Apex Kimmy, first driver to pit in this stint. Still not sure what happened to Lulba to set them so far down the order. Lotus seemed to have pitted, possibly due to an accident that we did not catch. But those two are out of contention. There is the fight, though, between Dr. Chair and Zoroiliak for the overall event wins. Zoroiliak won stint 1 by a significant margin. Chair won stint 2 by a moderate margin. Right now, Chair is leading Zoroiliak by a small margin. So this fight between this duo of Chair and Zoroiliak could end up going to the very last few moments of this race. Meanwhile, we look back at second and third. Sniffly Grunt has to be feeling frustrated because that gap is massively opening up now, and there's not much traffic up ahead, so unless something wild happens, Rex has locked up second, and Grunt will be 0. He'll be batting 0 and 3 when it comes to fighting against Rex here at Catalunya. Even though he's outran him down to turn 1 each and every time, he's just not been able to maintain a solid enough run through the corners. He just leaves the inside light open enough for Rex to pull alongside and beat him in the corners. It's hard to make overtakes in corners. I'm not saying it's not doable, but it is hard. It is a true test of skill to actually be able to make an overtake on someone else in a corner. Not nearly as easy to do as just hitting a button and opening the rear wing on a car in a straight line. And Rex has shown himself to be Sniffly's better in this event. Oh, and Grunt's into the dirt. Grunt is deep, and he's still into the dirt. He's still sliding. He's finally able to get back going again. The good news is he is well up the road from Figgy Boy, so he is not at risk of losing third to Figgy Boy any time. The other thing is that Figgy Boy now has to deal with Little Kid Suave, the biggest agent of anarchy that this event has had, as we are about 20 minutes through the final stint here. So about 25 minutes to go. Drivers who are pitting now will likely be fine, not have to worry too much about tire wear to the end here. Again, Suave goes really deep under braking, and Figgy Boy is all sorts of sideways, completely turns the car almost out of control under braking. So both of them are kind of sliding into a position on the track that neither of them wanted to be in, but both of them end up fighting for. Coming around off the top of the hill in Sector 3. Now through the final corner, big dive to the inside by Suave, and Suave's by. Suave gets the position. Kind of messy and rough, but Suave moves back into the 4th spot now, as the sun is coming up once again. Apex Dragon going ahead and making his stop now. Fig looks to the inside, not willing to commit to the move on Suave. But now that Suave has got Figgy Boy, now the question is, does Suave have anything for Sniffly Grunt? Back in stint 2, he wasn't able to catch Grunt. But now the circumstances are changing. The track conditions are going to be warmer. There's going to be a little bit less grip and a little bit more potential top end. You would think that would give the advantage to Grunt, but who knows? That might be all it takes for Suave to be able to run down Grunt for that 3rd position. We'll have to see as this goes on. Meanwhile, once again, we watch Zoroiliak as he follows behind Dr. Chair. We're going to go ahead and go silent for a bit. We're going to try and knock out one ad break, and hopefully this one ad break, when we're done with it, will let us go to the end of stint 3 with no more interruptions. So we'll be back momentarily here as we ride on board for a bit with Dr. Chair around Catalunya. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya. The sun is out once again. Dr. Cher leads Royaliac by a small margin in the bottom category. The fight for winning in the bottom category looks like it's going to go down to the end here. In the top category, though, it seems pretty obvious that Sniffly Grunt, as he is making his stop now, is going to have to settle for second overall and third in this stint. Fourth place and fifth place will pit with Grunt. Rex is coming home second, more than likely, in this stint, and that will be enough to guarantee him the overall victory. But this stint win is going to go to LMP TVR. When LMP Dragon was in this stint, back in stint 1, didn't quite make the top 5. Then we saw a different LMP driver jump in, and they were able to bring home a third place. It wasn't an easy third place. They had to do a lot of fighting, got a little bit lucky, but they showed a little bit more speed. And now LMP TVR, within the first 12 minutes of this final stint, leaped into the lead, has been gradually opening the gap to himself and the rest of the field here. Coming up on a little bit of traffic up here. That is, I believe, Sweeking. And no, that's not Sweeking. That is Lolba and Makoni, I believe. No, it is not. It is Lamborghini and Lolba. Chiron going ahead and making a stop. So in the top category, the only drivers who have yet to make a stop are Dramora, Crosbot, Destroyer, Momo, Rex, and TVR. So interesting thing for Destroyer is that right now he is running just ahead of Lil Kid Suave and Figgy Boy right now. We've seen this fight, Chevy on Chevy action, Camaro versus Corvette back in stint 1. I believe it was between these two exact drivers. I know it was the same cars, but I believe it was between these two exact drivers. As Rex now pits out of the second spot. Apex Dragon is a lot farther back, though, way down in 8th position. So it seems like our top 7 drivers are all kind of in a zone of their own. Momo is also going to join Rex in pitting this time by. Is Destroyer going to pit this time, or is he going to end up holding Suave up? Well, his front tires are getting cooked. If I was in Destroyer's position, I would most definitely pit at this stage of the event, especially because he'd only have about, 18 minutes left in the event. Might as well stop. And that's exactly what he's going to do. So Destroyer will pit this time by. So Sniffly Grunt goes back to 3rd, and Lil Kid Suave, along with Figgy Boy, go back to a fight for 4th position. We anticipate that once LMP TVR pits, he will still maintain his lead over Rex Vertice. TVR has been gradually growing the lead between himself and Rex, but it is not enough to knock out the gigantic gap that Rex has built up over the LMP team, though. Still waiting on Crosbot and Dramora to make their stops. Dramora actually seems to have a little bit more pace this time by compared to his first stint. And now look at this. Figgy Boy is going to get to the inside of Suave. It's a little bit aggressive, but yes, Suave is back by Figgy Boy. So this Nissan and Corvette battle continues for a bit longer. A little bit of contact, and look at that hanging out of the rear from the Nissan. Still, it's a drag race down to the bottom of Sector 2 into the chicane. And sure enough, Suave has got it for the moment. Fig now trying to close back in. Bit of a twitch, bit of a slide by Suave as he hits that inside curb, but not the perfect angle. Still, he's holding on to 4th. Is Fig gonna try for a big dive bomb? No. But he may not need to. Suave broke a little too late and missed the apex. And that brings Fig right up into a little bit of bumper-to-bumper, quarter-panel contact. Both of them are wide as they come up to the top of the hill here in Sector 3. Already down to only about 16 minutes left here at Catalunya. Dr. Cher still has yet to pit in the bottom category, but everyone else there has made a stop. Crosbot and Dramora still have yet to make a stop here in the top category. You can see Momo a little bit farther back from this duo, but Momo does not I think, have the ability to directly fight with this duo. Momo basically needs these two to be side by side, lap after lap, if they want a serious shot at sniping a 4th or 5th place finish here. It does seem like, barring something catastrophic happening, our top 3 are locked in place right now. It is going to be LMP TVR, followed by Rexpertise, followed by Sniffly Grunt. Dr. Cher is making his stop now. Where is Zroiliak in relation to Dr. Cher? Is Zroiliak going to get a chance to leapfrog Cher, try get the lead back, and maybe add to his hopes in stealing the win here in the bottom category? Dromora finally makes his stop as well. So Crosbot is the only driver who has yet to make their mandatory stop. And they have about 5 minutes left to do so. Dr. Cher, not out of pit lane yet. There he is on the side. You can see him. And we're going to see Zroiliak overtake Dr. Cher. So Zroiliak now goes into the lead over Dr. Cher. Now he's got a lot of fuel in the car, and his tires already have a significant amount of wear on them. Cher has nice fresh rubber. Does Cher have anything to reel Zroiliak back in and try to make a charge on him? Meanwhile, a pair of Apex entries, Dragon and Yes, are going back at it here. It is a Subaru versus a Porsche as they come to the top of Sector 3 here. A bit less than 15 minutes left. There's still a lot of ways that this could go. Doesn't seem like there's anything that Yes is able to do to Dragon right now, though. I'm curious, how much longer is Crosbot going to stay out? Tires are cooked. I don't know why they're staying out this long. Little Kid Suave still fighting to keep Figgy Boy behind, but the gap is slowly opening in favor of this Corvette. This is the other fight to watch. Zroiliak has just been passed again by LMP TVR as he is trying to maintain position over Dr. Cher. Actually, I'm going to use the points of interest camera and try to give you an idea as to what exactly the time gap is between Zroiliak and Dr. Cher right now. 1001, 1002. It's only about 2 seconds between the duo. Now, granted, these cars are very slow. They're top of C class. So a small gap in time is still a big gap on circuit. Third place right now is McConey. But McConey pitted very early. We don't know how that strategy is going to work out. Fourth place at the moment is FFR Sweesing. Fifth is Lamborghini. In this Mazda, sixth is Lolba, who for some unknown reason pulled over and stayed still on track for well over a full minute before moving again. And then last is Lotus. Phoenix apparently has just got by Apex Kimmy somehow, as Kimmy is still struggling in this X-Ping machine. Tires already have a significant amount of wear, so for Kimmy, I'd be concerned about what their tires are going to look like by the end of this year. Gap seems to continue to gradually close down bit by bit in parts of the circuit as we watch the fight between Dr. Cher and McConey. As for Expertise going by, Sniffly Grunt following a long way down the road. So we're going to see Sniffly Grunt have to navigate his way by these drivers. Mind you, Lotus is going to be caught very shortly here by Zoroiliac, and that could have a very significant impact on how the rest of this goes. Cher gets touched from behind by Sniffly Grunt. Now it looks like Lotus will pull offline so as not to compromise Zoroiliac's line here. Zoroiliac will be compromised a bit there by Sniffly Grunt, but Cher has traffic behind. He can't really capitalize either. The gap closes by a small amount, but not enough for Cher to start really doing anything back to Zoroiliac. Zoroiliac has the track position. Again, this is not just a fight for the stint win. This is the fight for the overall event win in the bottom category. Zoroiliac won stint 1 by a significant margin. Cher won stint 2 by a significant but slightly smaller margin. Cher needs to get ahead of Zoroiliac and then open up a bit of a gap on him, and he's got less than 10 minutes to do so. Crosbot finally stops, but the timer was already past the 25-minute mark. There may be a post-race disqualification penalty to Crosbot and his team for not pitting soon enough. We don't know yet. I didn't see the exact perfect timing, but it looked like he did it about 5 seconds after the race timer crossed the 25-minute mark. And remember, in TORA, you are required to get all of your pit stops done 10 minutes before everyone stops on track. Everyone stops with 15 minutes to go, so you have to get your pit stops done before that race timer says 25 minutes, and I think Crosbot may have misjudged that by about 4 or 5 seconds. A little bit of chaos going on here. Lil Kid Suave has not been able to pull away from Figgy Boy, and Momo has indeed been gradually closing in on this duo as this has gone on. So we may see another wild fight between these three. These were the same three that were all over each other at the end of stint 1, fighting for 3rd place on track. And that one, Suave barely got it. Fig was completely sideways, and Momo barely missed out on anything better than 5th. We might see a repeat of that. Granted, it would be for 1 spot lower. It would be 4th, 5th, 6th instead of 3rd, 4th, 5th. But we might be on track for a repeat of that. They're going to have to deal with some lap traffic in the form of SDR Dremora, or DIR Dremora as he's now known, but also the leader in the bottom category right now in the form of Zoroiliac. Mind you, all this has also let Dr. Cher close in just a little bit more. Dr. Cher already doesn't have to worry about traffic now. It's going to be clean going for a bit. Zoroiliac is still being held up a bit. As you can see, the gap between Zoroiliac and Cher has closed down by a very, very small amount. But he still has to pass him and then open up a gap on him. Dremora will be nice and out of the way, won't cause too much of an issue for these guys. As they all continue to slide and slip around here as they come to the top of the circuit. Now Suave opening a very small gap on Figgy Boy as Fig finds himself under threat from Momonica. Suave finished 4th in stint 1 and 2. Might not even get home a top 5 though in this stint with how this is looking. Here comes Momo. Has a draft off that 04. Going to try and go the long way around the outside. It's a bold strategy, Patton. Let's see how it plays out. Ooh, that's a bit of a sideways moment by Fig, though. That's going to keep Momo right underneath. We only have about 6 minutes left and it does not seem like they're going to be able to do anything back to Suave, but I don't know if Momo actually has anything for Fig. Meanwhile, leading in the bottom category, it is still Zoroiliac as we watch Cher as he has closed the gap visibly down between himself and Zoroiliac. But again, catching is one thing, and Cher has been able to catch, but very slowly. Passing is something else entirely, and there is more top category traffic coming up in the form of Apex Dragon and Apex Yes. Cher moves out of the way, isn't going to be held up too much by either of those two Apex drivers. Oh, Zoroiliac, though, is denied the ideal lane through the final corner. But Zoroiliac counters that by gaining a little bit of a draft, a sniff of a draft there off of Yes. And Zoroiliac will use that to try and open the gap between himself and Cher just a little bit more. Gonna go to the point of view cam once again, so we can kind of get an idea as to what the gap is going to look like between the two of them. It is much closer than where it was when we looked about 3 laps ago. There's only about a second between the two of them, if that now. But now it's going to be a nice long period where these two will not have to deal with traffic now. Coming up to the top of turn 4. Now they rush down to turn 5. Through sector 2 now. A little bit of a fighting going on here between Fig and Momo. Momo trying to go the long way around Fig, but cannot keep the car there. Falls back behind Fig again. Suave has opened up a small gap on them. As long as he doesn't have another slide off circuit, he might be able to secure 4th place. And just as I say that, he's gone off again. And now he's going to fall out of the top 5. Fig goes back into 4th, and Momo has a run on him. Momo's going to go to the outside once again. Drag race side by side. Momo has the nose ahead, but Fig has the ideal inside line. Who goes deep under braking? It will be Momo, who goes to the top spot between this duo. Momo back in the 4th. Fig slips back to 5th position now. Gap between Zoroiliac and Cher is opened a little bit wider again, as they have Destroyer coming up on them now. Coming up to the top of the hill here. And now onto the back straightaway once more. I think that may have been it. I don't know if Figgy Boy has anything for Momo. So Momo might finally be able to secure a 4th place finish in one of these now. Potentially, there's still 2 minutes left. So when they come to the start-finish line, they will have only that 1 lap, and that will be it. Once again, we look at Zoroiliac and Cher. This is Cher in 2nd. Zoroiliac just ahead of him in 1st in the category. It seems like the gap has stabilized at this. And this, I believe, would be enough to guarantee Zoroiliac the win of all the B category drivers in the bottom split. All the B lobby drivers in the bottom category, I should say. Yes, and Dragons are still going at it. Apex on Apex action here for the 7th position on track. Suave is closing back in on Fig and Momo, but unless those two have an axe in between each other, he's not going to be able to do anything. The Porsche trying to go the long way around the outside of the Subaru. They're still side by side through 1 and 2, and there's a little bit of contact. Subaru's all sorts of sideways, puts the power down and holds it on. Oh, and Suave's gone off again, so that's done for. His can't say anything better than a 6 in this stint is over. Less than 45 seconds left now. Coming uphill again. Looks like this is going to be it, unless Momo has a bad run coming onto the straight. I see no chance for Fig to get this. Is Fig going to try and go for a Herculean dive bomb to the inside at the end of the straight? I think he's too far back to make something like that work, and he is not going to go for anything crazy like that. It looks like Fig is going to pull off 4th, 4th, 5th for finishing positions here. As they come to the top of Sector 3, less than 10 seconds left. Your winner, though, once again, is going to be, well, for the first time today, actually, will be the LMP entry. As time's up, over, plow. And your winner of Stint 3 is LMP TVR. Your winner for the event overall in the B lobby is going to be Rexpertise. Second overall and third in the stint will be Sniffly Grunt. 4th place finisher in the stint will be Momo, their highest finishing result. 5th place will be Figgy Boy. 6th place will be Lil Kid Suave. 7th will be Apex Yes. 8th will be Apex Dragon. 9th will be Destroyer. 10th will be Apex Kimmy 7. 11th will be Phoenix 8. 12th will be C480. 13th will be Chiron, but that might get nicked later. 14th will be Crosbot, who also may have a penalty for not pitting at the proper time. And last of the runners in the top category will be DIR Dramora. In the bottom categories, Royaliac will barely pull off a victory over Dr. Chair, and that should be enough to give Royaliac the overall event win of the bottom category here in the B lobby. Chair will bring home 2nd. 3rd place will go to TBR McConey, who did not have a good stint 1, but gradually improved in the later ones. FFR Sweesing will come home in 4th. 5th will be Lamborghini R2D2. 6th will be Lolba 9885. And 7th and last will be Lotus. We're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and we'll be back momentarily, hopefully to get some post-stint interviews from some of our competitors in today's event. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to... Oh, For some reason my Xbox party died. That's frustrating. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Barcelona. TORA's Funduro is over, and we are just waiting right now to see if anyone's going to be willing or able to jump in and talk with us here post-race for interviews. We may be having an issue with Xbox parties giving us a problem right now. All right. Hopefully this works. No, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Go ahead and include your audio. There was at least one other person who wanted to chat, but I'll go ahead and start with you since you seem to be the event winner. Go ahead and include your audio. Great run out there. It was not 3 straight stint wins, but you still brought home a good result. What do you have to say about your third run out there today?
That was an incredible drive by TVR, LMP TVR. It turns out that was the only stint he did, which makes sense as to why I didn't see him the whole time. But the way he came past me, but I think he came up on me and the Alpine, and we were 3 wide through the first sector. And after he got past us, he was completely cleared off. That car was it looked loose, but my God, it was fast. And then had a really good battle with the Alpine, as you probably saw. Like really lots of trying to go around the outside of each other or doing each other on the brakes and up and on. It was had a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed that stint. Well done to TVR, because that was some distance he put on me by the end.
That was a pretty fantastic drive out there. Well, congratulations on also being able to Ironman it and winning, at least in the B lobby, winning the top category while Ironmanning. So now I have to ask, what can we expect to see you in over the next few weeks or months in Forza? What other events can we look forward to seeing you in, Rexpertise?
I was planning my retirement, but I guess if I'm going to win everything, I mean, I think we need to wait and see what Daytona looks like. TBR probably we're going to stick in Forza. We're waiting to see what PMR does, but we're going to stick in Forza for another year at least with TORA. So I think the next time I turn up and the team turns up, we'll be at Daytona.
All right, then we'll be looking forward to you guys in a little bit more than a month then at TORA Daytona. Anyways, Rex, it was fantastic being able to watch you out there. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us, not just once, but all 3 times today.
Yeah.
It's something we don't get to
What a
have
pleasure.
happen very
Honestly,
often.
what a pleasure. Best commentator in the game, hands down. Insane Leader is my goat. And Merry Chrysler, everyone. Of course.
Mary Chrysler. How dare you say that? I'm offended. I'm a happy Honda Days
Oh,
person.
God. Ban me. Ban me.
All right. Anyways, yeah. Thanks once again for jumping in and talking with us. And now I want to talk with a different winner, the guy who won the stint, although not ended up winning the event overall, LMP TVR. TVR, go ahead, include your audio in the Xbox party if you can. Fantastic drive to steal the victory that early on. What do you have to say about your run out there?
Yeah, it was pretty insane. Lap 1, like, I started like 10th on the grid, and I lap by turn like 4, I was like 3rd. And like, I don't know how, but I wheel spin so much coming off the line, and somehow I ended up getting like the best launch of all time apparently, because I passed like 5 cars before turn 1. It was pretty cool. After that, I just kind of worked my way through. I knew the car was decently quick. I've driven quite a bit of it over the past week. I'm quite enjoying this car. Had a lot of fun. On the track, it was pretty sick.
Well, it must not have been too sick, because at least for you, it seemed like you were driving very healthily out there.
Well, avoiding off tracks and such, but yeah, this car is always on the edge of through round. Like, the grip is just not there. I could have put the wing on and gone like a second faster, but come on, who's doing that? Not when it's like a front wheel drive style wing. It's weird. No, thank you. I'll pass on that. But yeah, it was pretty fun to drive, so I'm glad I picked this car.
So I do have to ask, since you had 3 different drivers in the car over the event, did your team make adjustments to the car from stint to stint for the different drivers, or was it just, here you are, just
it
go?
It was tuned exclusively for me, effectively. I spoke to our tuner after I made a version of it, but it was a little funky to drive. Not far off this pace, but a little funky, and yeah, he made some changes, and then that was as far as I knew any changes were made to the tune, so it was effectively just for me.
Alright, well, it was a fantastic drive nonetheless, mate. So now I have to ask, over the next few weeks or months, what else can we anticipate to see you in Forza?
Honestly, not much. Well, as Rex said, retirement is looming. I've been doing this for 6 years total, 4.5 with LMP now. And yeah, I'm just kind of bored of Forza. The event like numbers aren't looking the same as they did even like a year ago. Like Daytona last year had like 130 signups or something like that. It was like 600. No, it wasn't that much. It was like 300 cars. It was quite a big, probably one of the biggest events that TORA have ever done. And comparing that to the past 2 events, it's been pretty not nice. So I think I might do Daytona, but then I think I'm gonna call it a day then. LMU is looming, and PMR, while it's a bit of a mess right now, it looks like it might, maybe someday a year from now, come out as a finished game. So doing a lot better than FM8.
I wouldn't even agree on that, but fair enough. Either way, mate, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Once again, it was a fantastic drive, and I look forward to seeing what you can do in the future in this game.
I don't mean looking better now, I mean looking better maybe in a year. That's what I meant, but yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, thank you.
Alright. Well, with that in mind, that will pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Catalunya for TORA's Mini Fun Enduro at the end of the 2025 racing year. And with that in mind, that'll pretty much wrap us up for the day. I look forward to seeing you all in the future broadcast here. Until then, I've been your host, Insanely13. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.